Hello and welcome everybody to our Immortal season opener for Smite Draft League. I'm very excited for this, and with me I got Suun. Suun, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful, and I am very much looking forward to this set between Stormcallers and Dark Omen for the Immortal set. This game got postponed a little bit, but we're excited to see it now that it's here.
Always excited to get a season opener. I'm hoping it's a really good one. All I got from some friends was a bit of a barn burner, so I'm excited to see what we can get into with these picks, bans, and these teams. And it's always exciting to see how these teams pan out for the first time. I think that's the most fun part because I mean it's the start of the season, so you can kind of just go wild. Be a bit more reserved. It's not exactly a scrim, but just fill yourselves out, see what you can get away with a little bit, see what you can't. And I think that's one of the most fun things about starting the season out. You're not too scared to play.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, a lot of these players haven't necessarily played together yet. And so, it being the first week of the season, this is somewhat some teams first times actually playing together. I mean, but there are some familiar faces on some of these teams that have definitely played together quite a lot. And so there's already some synergy that have formed between some players, but for the most part, a lot of these teams, this is their first time playing with anybody. And so they get to experience it for the first time the first week of this draft league.
And it's always exciting to see how these teams will start gelling together, where they'll start leaning on, who they'll start leaning on, which lane they'll go through. And it's also really cool to kind of see that go through as the season goes on, see who they start leaning on, who they go through, where they switch priorities. And I will say, I see a couple of friendly faces in here between Voulg, Cosmics, and Spence Spark, as well as no, I think that's it for me. I'm kind of excited to see them because they were actually my teammates last year. I was captain of Divine Dark Omen, so it's nice to see them popping up to Immortal here.
And their first week, they're up against Dark Omen, so that's kind of exciting to see. Except this time they've bumped up a little bit now that they're in the Immortal division, so it's good to see that. And it's good to see bans coming out for Dark Omen. Thor ban being first banned out. I absolutely love the Thor ban coming out. I think that character can be flexed in solo and jungle, and so because of that flex potential can bring a lot to teams and can bring a lot to these early beacon spawns that a lot of teams have been eyeballing 4 or 5 members at the first beacon spawns in the mid lane. And Thor having that Anvil of Dawn, being able to rotate early, either in jungle or in solo, he can really bring a lot to those early beacon spawns and can have a huge impact early on in the game.
I agree. Thor's always a nuisance. You always got to wonder who it is in the air and keep an eye in the sky. Then we got Hachiman for our second ban. And I gotta say, I'm surprised that god has really kept up with since his last buff, because everyone had told me it was always a small buff. Some people didn't really believe he was as good, but it's always kind of interesting to see that where he stays where he is. Those autos really do hit when he buffs them, and some people aren't really happy. They say he's a worse Ishtar, but I think he's really made his own point as why he's a big problem with that get out of jail free card ultimate, as well as just a variety of ranges on every ability he has. He's just a constant threat, and it's always interesting to watch him played, but we see you're going to be a bit more reserved here and go for the ban instead.
Yeah, I think Hachi would have been top of the meta if they didn't end up nerfing Master of Arms a little bit and having exactly how much impact that has, thanks to the Silver Branch buffs that came out in the most recent patch. And so being able to see him getting nerfed a little bit, but an item that he can use very well with his kit, being able to have those stim autos in his kit, getting that extra attack speed just from his kit, in addition to whatever items he elects to build. I think that's a really good ban. I still think he's a very strong ADC, and I love to see that they're respecting it, especially because you know that these teams have been practicing with Hachiman. So even if a small nerf is coming his way, they're still going to be looking towards it. Just like all these other bans that have been coming through as well. Robin ban, Kali ban, both of those are really, really strong assassin picks right now. Kali just being able to, if she can get out of the early game, she can farm in the late game. And Robin, kind of the opposite. He's really, really good in the early game and can bring a lot for his team, either in jungle or in solo. Most teams electing to solo. And so I loved seeing that coming out and getting banned out. And then a Yorm and Tiamat for Stormcaller's bans. I mean, both of those are pretty strong picks in each of their roles, respectfully, as well.
Yorm's just always a nuisance because a lot of gods nowadays are using knockups, knockbacks, or pulls, and all these different things, and Yorm just completely negates all that. He might take a bit of bonus damage, but if you can't really control his movement or where he is at any point, then he's just going to keep spitting on you, and it's just not going to be a fun time. But now, talk about picks, we got pretty strong picks coming out first. Baba Yaga with her stacking capabilities and that house shield in her ultimate, just the constant damage she outputs. And Martikaris, which I gotta say, I almost feel as a bit of an oversight. I would have thought to ban him over the Kali, but it's always interesting to see Marty come out.
Yeah, I mean, all ADCs struggle from one thing, and that's because they're not Marty. So the fact that Stormcallers get to lock in the Marty first pick for their team is a really good look right away off the bat. Being able to flex that between mid and ADC. I typically see a lot of players like it more towards that mid lane. But I mean, who knows? It's a flex pick at the end of the day. And this Nox lock-in coming in as well. I like to think that that's going to be a Nox support. Nox is just a really great character for being able to lock down. She does do very good damage. She is very strong as a mid laner, but not a lot of players like to pick her because if you miss her route, you're just going to miss her entire kit half the time. So gonna hopefully be seeing that in the support role over there for Stormcallers.
And to capitalize on that, I watched the scouting grounds of Spence Spark, and he was pulling out the Nox support. And you say he was hitting those roots. There was a Dodgy who kept trying to hop him 2 times in a row consecutively. He just sat up. Spence Spark just sat Dodgy down. She just did a little lift up, and he caught her. And then she tried to do it again, and he just caught her again. It was baffling. It was just telling the Dodgy to sit down and then just stay seated. It was funny to watch, to say the least. But now we got 2 more picks coming out. Ishtar, as we mentioned, kind of the better Hachiman, some might say, than Sun Wukong, who I gotta say, I love to see. I've always loved Sun Wukong. I loved his lore, the whole Monkey King and all the nonsense that he gets into, and just how much of a fun character he is. And it's always cool when he comes back in meta, because you see with the shift to Bruiser meta, Sun Wukong always makes a peek out. You get that Soul Eater, and then you start going Bruiser, and before you know it, he's just walking all over the entire team. And it's just always fun to see a Sun Wukong out and about.
Yeah, and another really fun matchup in the solo lane as well, as Tyr gets locked in for Stormcallers. And so we'll be seeing a Tyr versus Wukong more than likely in the solo lane for both these teams. And I've got to say that's a really old matchup when it comes to Smite. These characters have been out for many, many years, respectfully, and it's always a fun matchup between who gets the upper hand between these two solo lane picks. So I'm really excited to see who gets it between the two solo laners. And we got ourselves a Bakasura and Hunbats ban coming through. Tell me about the Hunbats ban.
I really like the Hunbats ban because Hunbats is one of those utility people, gods, junglers, excuse me, that you can just find. He always has an opportunity, always has a chance, right? You can fall behind his Hunbats. You might be 2 levels behind, but if you can drop that big totem the Fear No Evil in the middle of a team fight, you can change the whole thing. You don't even have to do the damage. As long as you cause the chaos, you're always relevant. Unlike Bakasura, who, if you get the build wrong or you get behind, there's not much you can do. He can throw out his cripple, sure, and maybe body block with minions, but the monkey's always relevant. He's always a problem, and he's always something you got to watch out for, no matter how many levels he's down. And then we see 2 more assassins are really prioritizing the jungle ban here. Susano, a very aggressive diving god, and then Thanatos, someone who's going to rule the early game. So it looks like these teams are trying to kind of protect their early game rather than focus more on the late game.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm seeing here, but what I am seeing there are 7 assassin bans coming out. So I'm not trying to spread propaganda about what classes are very strong in Smite game, but 7 assassin bans is very close to 10. And so really interesting to see both of these teams electing to ban the junglers outright here. I mean, kind of a little bit curious to say the least. And then Stormcallers getting first pick out of the banning phase, and they don't elect to pick any jungler necessarily, and they lock in the Anher on their side. And I mean, I love the Anher pick. I'm all for it, but I was really expecting a jungler pick to be locked in right there.
I feel like at this point, if you don't have a specific jungle picked out on what you want to do, or something you kind of accepted at this point, then you might as well just try to take your carry before they take it. But that is Dark Omen already gotten there, so maybe you're probably right, a jungle should have been picked there. I do like the Emoja pick, though, as most of the Stormcallers doesn't really have a way to get out of the waves. Honor's got his leap, but besides that, Tyr's got to burn an ultimate to get there, and Nox has got to hope that someone takes him out.
Yeah, I mean, River's Rebuke is just a fantastic ability, being able to cut off. You're going to have to use the Death from Above on Marty to escape that as well. And, I mean, with a Ratatasker coming in as well, a little bit of global pressure coming out for Dark Omen, I mean, it's going to be a little bit scary if you end up being an immobile Marty in the mid lane, which is going to be the case because there's an Anher locked in now. And so, going to be a little bit scary to say the least, but, I mean, Marty's got some good stats, and he does so much damage. He might be able to peel himself out just off the damage numbers alone.
Now I'm looking at the Stormcallers, though. We got a lock-in on the Camazotz, but I don't know about you. I'm noticing a bit of a lack in magical damage coming out from the Stormcallers. And I don't know if this Nox is going to be pseudo-damage, pseudo-tank, or if they're just going to rely on the physical damage alone. It can be done, but only if you can kind of start taking this game from the start. If you let the team get ahead in any way, the first magical protection item they're going to get is just going to really kind of seal the deal. What do you think about this?
I'm actually a huge fan of these 4 physicals being locked in right now.
Really?
You've got an Anher with Enfeeble, and he being able to strip physical protections away for not just himself, because again, you're stripping the protections away from the opponent. It doesn't apply to just you. You're applying it for your entire team. So having more physicals on your team, you actually get to benefit from his passive more from that. And plus, Death from Above, Marty's ultimate, also strips physical protections. And so you just get to, just between your 2 ADC picks right now, your jungler and your solo laner are going to be doing more damage if they're focusing out someone in front of one of the 2 ADCs. And so they can really bring a lot of damage because of all this shred that they have on their side.
And I'm going to say that it was planned all along. I'm not going to say it's a happy coincidence. I'm going to say that. I would say that was planned the whole time, because no one ever thinks of the on her. Every time an Omener is picked, man, it's always like, why? Okay, you got to have a plan with him. He definitely does struggle from time to time if you don't really have an idea of what you want to do with him. But I've also seen him able to just kind of pull games ahead. But now we're going to send you to game with Anthony and KingFsher, and they'll greet you there.
Hello, Smite Draft League. Welcome to some Friday Night Smite. We're getting into this game a bit late. First Blood went to Printers on the Camazotz. Dark Omen versus Stormcallers for the Immortal Division. My name's AnthonyMalum. I'm joined by KingFsher. Fisher, how's it going?
Going pretty good, obviously. Don't like missing the start of the game too much, but from the looks of it, we haven't missed too much. Almost 7 minutes in and only 1 kill. Not really what I would expect for these teams' first game of the year. Normally, you kind of expect them to come out there ready to fight. They're really nervous. They just want to get the first bloods out of the way. Not really the case here.
It was not, but maybe that'll lead to it being one of those games, and we'll see very high-level play from these guys. A lot of these players we recognize a lot we don't. I mean, from the full rosters of these two teams, 8 of the 12 total players, including the subs, are new to the SDL. So a lot to explore. Exploring over to the left, Printers and Spence jumping over to TMJ, and TMJ is going to hit the grave. Goodbye to the Ishtar. Spence Sparks picks up the kill and gets the credit. Going to the Nox, not the greatest thing, KingFsher, but hey, they'll take it anyway. Some pressure on the Ishtar.
Always good to have, and it's kind of jarring to see Spence not in the role of the jungle this time. Really was hoping to see that Thanatos fly, but I'm sure they're going to do just fine as a support. And yeah, shutting down Ishtar early, it's no easy feat. And I think Suun was talking about this on the desk, but having the Honor, having the Marticarus, there is so much pressure you can put onto those side lanes against a very aggressive ADC, all with your own.
And the physical protection shred was something that Suun said. That's going to be something we really need to keep our eyes on. The difference that can make for the teams cannot be understated. CosmicVibez caught on mid by Royalty, but able to get away. Blink from Printers onto StepDentist, who's in a bit of trouble. Has to pull out the home sweet home, try to get away. Royalty's trying to help out in that process, but Baba Yaga's got nowhere to go. Juke Shoes trying to do what they can, but you can't juke death from above all that well. CosmicVibez gets the credit for the kill onto the Baba Yaga. Spence Spark could be up next. Royalty got a bit aggressive with the help of Binsen. There's Rebuke comes out, and Binsen's diving for it without the help of Royalty. Binsen did not need no help there. Respectable play, but ultimately, Spence gets away.
If that Magic Shell wasn't up, that might have been a support kill, which we always love to see here at the SDL. Not a Ganesh kill, but you know, Yamoja one's also pretty cool. I think we would have settled for that, but no such luck. And both the supports are really interesting picks. They're very, very polar opposite of each other in terms of like playstyle, what they can do for the team. It's kind of hard to say which one's going to get an edge here, but if I was Nox, I'd be really worried about falling behind to this Emoja.
That's a really good call. I think so far, with the 1 kill and the 2 assists, on a good path, but definitely worth keeping an eye on. Spence in mid, but able to step away. Another thing worth looking at. Relics across the board. We do see blinks from both junglers, and we've got a Sunder rocking for Binsen. And for Spence, already going with that upgraded shell. Give me your thoughts on that.
I think it's smart, especially at this stage of the game. You're not always expecting big rotations, but there are some of those teams that like to group up like 5-6 minutes in with 4 or 5 people on a big gank. Having Yamoja ult could really help Dark Omen if they choose to do that. So I think it's just safe, not sorry, and it also doesn't set them behind in the build too much. It's only a tier 2 blade on the other side for the Yamoja, and that really doesn't give you a whole ton, so not really losing anything by that relic choice.
For sure, we did see that Printers got a bit poked out, getting aggressive in the other jungle, but ultimately able to get away and keep some of the pressure on with the help of Voulg, protecting Printers from Reaper. Calm 10 minutes so far, 3-0 favoring Stormcallers, but the gold much less drastic than the kills would make you believe, and the XP difference is really the same story, nothing drastic. And with the level of skill, I mean, like I said, a lot of players we aren't familiar with, but the ones we are, we know how good they are. A few notable steps up from Divine. I think this could be one of those back and forth sets. I mean, there's a world where it goes crazy and there's 100 kills, but I'm expecting some really high level quality play here.
Yeah, and I think disciplined, always the word I kind of associate with that. You know, not overstepping, which is something I feel like I talk about a lot, taking calculated risks to really protect your lead. Stormcallers are going to have a good chance to do it, grouping up on this left-hand side. The Gold Fury's up, the Beacon's a minute out. They might look to do some damage here, really open up that left side of the map, because about the time of that first Beacon, historically through the scouting grounds and through the game the other night, it just seems like Beacons are the catalyst for all aggression, but right now it might be Printers.
Going really aggressive onto TMJ. Had to use the blades, but that was enough for safety. But a blink forward from Printers, trying to catch out TMJ sleeping, and we'll find the credit with the bat out of hell, and we'll get away on top of it. Just blinking right past Binsen. I don't think anyone expected Printers to make that play. We'll call it an EU diff there. Royalty going aggressive for Printers, but the dash misses after Printer took a step to the left, but Printer gets picked up by StepDentist, who goes underneath the tower. Now Royalty is trying to put some work on to Mario Bro, who gets the impale off. That impale creates some space and buys some time for the rotation from CosmicVibez, but they can't make anything out of it. Just going to secure their own purple. Could have gone worse, but it did certainly. Just lost Printers, so a 1-for-1 ultimately.
I got really thrown off there. I thought Royal literally dove in and then dashed right back out, but turns out just a distraction for the Baba Yaga to pick up that kill. I was gonna question dropping it that early, but dropping just as soon is gonna be this first Bastion. I don't know if Stormcallers can contest this, and they're not going to.
So Dark Omen gets the first beacon of the set tonight, which is a good pickup for Dark Omen. Now, 1-4, and again, I mentioned the gold lead wasn't significant, the XP lead, same thing. We're starting to see a lot of stuff creep towards Dark Omen, and considering the start being down 3-0 and now turning into 1-4, that has to feel great.
It does, and I think they're really helped along by this season, and I don't know if people are just still getting used to the changes, or if the entire meta is just kind of shifted, which could be the case. But farm and those big objectives aren't really as hot a commodity anymore. It means these teams that are relying on kills like Stormcallers has been for so much of this early game, they're going to need to keep that pace up if they want to take any sort of a lead and really sustain it. But so far, been unable to. Dark Omen, they've died a few times, but they're playing smart. They're positioning well. See that on the left side with ThockManJones getting out of trouble before the Nox is able to rotate over.
While you have some time, I want to talk about something interesting. I did mention that 8 of the 12 total people from the rosters, including subs, are new to SDL, but Stormcallers has a lot of familiar names, while Dark Omen familiar to the amateur Smite community, but not necessarily SDL. So it's kind of a battle of trying to build the synergy versus already established chemistry. Everybody knows CosmicVibez, Spence, and Voulg are all getting along well. So we'll see how that comes to play and if that synergy can keep up with the pre-built chemistry, because that's going to be really important here. I mean, Mario Bro and Printers obviously got to get along with that chemistry, but once you step into something like that, it's so much easier than kind of walking into school on the first day.
It is, especially early in the season. We talk about it a lot, getting off on the ground running, how big play calls can be a real big issue for teams early on in the year. Should help remedy that, as a lot of ults exchange. They were going for the Baba Yaga under the mid tower.
More aggression out from Printers. We've seen this before. The land down from Royalty to try to stop things. It actually works. Printers gets dropped. CosmicVibez in trouble too. Night Terror for good measure. Reaper with the slam down. CosmicVibez trying to clean up what he can. Voulg dives deep. Reaper finds CosmicVibez. Voulg finds Royalty, but Voulg now in no man's land. He gets dropped by StepDentist himself. 4-5 all of a sudden. And that quiet game we were talking about, where did it go?
As soon as we started covering it, the kills just started ramping up immensely. A very good play by Dark Omen, and especially considering they were able to do all that after the Baba Yaga got dove, looked all alone, great rotates over from the Rat and the Emoja. Might clean up the Gold Fury. Spent Spark, doesn't have the ultimate, gonna be hard to contest.
Stepping through so far, does get the Siphon off, and they left the Gold Fury in it, but it did not matter in the end. Dark Omen get the Gold Fury, adding on to that gold lead, now up to 2,004-5 as we come across the 15-minute mark. Spence still duking it out with Reaper. At this point, just for funsies, I think.
Oh yeah, when you're a support, you can kind of just trade blows with anybody, and really neither of you lose health until like the late game ADCs come online. It's basically like solo lane, but less exciting.
Yeah, you know, I made the metaphor before of that first day of school, things feeling awkward. To me, that's the like you're in the you're going to bathroom in class and you come across a friend and like you really don't want to talk to them, but they really want to talk to you. So you're kind of like, oh hey, yeah, you know, I'm running to the principal's office. Totally, I gotta go. And you just go back to class to avoid them because you don't like talking because you're antisocial. Anyway,
that was certainly one of our more odd tangents we've seen here, but we get there eventually.
I'm reminiscing, Fisher.
That's okay. I'm sorry. Sorry to ruin your fun memories. 16 minutes in though, I think I talked about it at the start and we've seen it ramp up a bit, but normally this early in the season it's where teams are getting really hyperactive. I know I talk about objectives a lot, but I don't know, it feels like for all these players being level 17 in the mid lane, 16, 15, this is kind of the point of the game where you start to group up as 5, you start to rotate for stuff. Dark Omen finally might be taking advantage now, but they are gonna back off from the Pyro for I don't know why. Printers on the left-hand side of the map.
TMJ was finally getting the better of Mario Bro in the 1v1, but Printers not respecting the 1v1 will push TMJ back. Dark Omen going to take advantage of Printers on the left side, go for the Pyromancer, it's down to half health, and Spence and Cosmic are hanging out around it. It's let go lightly, Reaper playing defense now they commit heavier. TMJ takes the 1v2 on the left side while they still force Pyro in right. Dark Omen gets the Pyro. Printers having trouble getting TMJ. Desert Fury to follow. Voulg still dealing with Binsen and Reaper following up on that Pyromancer, and ThockManJones survived the 1v2 that he took for 47 years, so massive props to the Ishtar for surviving where there was certainly no right.
And drew the Camazotz under the tower too. That's the second time we see a Printers do that and doesn't have the ult to escape the Rat Royal with the big dunk.
Well-deserved revenge, but Royalty does get impaled into the wall and dropped down by Mario Bro. TMJ just wasn't in the perfect spot to really back up the Ratatasker there, so it turns into a 1-for-1, unfortunately, for Dark Omen, and fortunately for Stormcallers.
Stormcallers probably glad to have that one little kill back there. They did lose a Pyro. It has been trending a little bit towards Dark Omen's way. I was just about to say, what was it? Printers, that's a second, maybe third if we missed it earlier in the game time. They've dove that tier 1 tower on left, got a kill the first time, but trying to get TMJ out of the way just kind of uses or loses all their utility, and you don't have anything to escape the Rat. Through the Cosmos, you can see coming from a long ways away if you're ready for it.
Reaper does get caught out. Plenty tanky, but actually uses the Somersault Cloud just to ensure safety as the beacon is going to be started up by Dark Omen. Stormcaller is going to step up. Voulg around the side. Judgment brought down, trying to get Dark Omen out of the circle. Working so far. Binsen could be the victim of the play, and he was. Voulg making it work, dropping Binsen. Stormcaller's trying to clean up the scraps. Mario Bro finds Royalty. 2 down so far for Dark Omen. Stormcallers pressured off a bit, and Dark Omen still holding on to the Stygian Beacon. Voulg goes through. TMJ with the beads to save from the tier, and somehow Dark Omen gets that Stygian Beacon out from underneath Stormcallers despite the play. Printers goes in the back trying to make up for it, but could not find any clean damage. So Stormcallers has to walk away. I mean, they got 2 kills, but they lost the Beacon, and they had a 5-on-3 advantage, but they got so poked out, there was just no world where they could go in safely.
They took a good fight, too. If their health was more, they easily could have won that, but now they've dropped every single objective for the past 19 minutes. Not a good spot, but they don't want to drop this kill. CosmicVibez going to be the target.
ThockMan looks for Spent Spark in the background. Voulg goes in quickly, trying to save Cosmic. TMJ gets pulled under tower, and Cosmic gets a credit for it. But he drops 2 StepDentist on the landing, turns into a double kill for the Baba Yaga. Could be even more if Voulg can't get away. Mario Bro here to try to make that possibility a reality, but Reaper will clean up the tier. Some solo and solo violence under the tier 1 tower, which will also go the way of Dark Omen. Lots and lots clicking for the boys in blue.
Nickname if I've ever heard one, and they do everything they need to under the tower and to get it as well. Not normally used to seeing towers falling, I guess, kind of this late in the game, but there's only 1 apiece from either side. If you're a Dark Omen fan, you're glad they were able to make that happen and get the kills to boot. Might be looking for another on Printers, but just gonna blink out of there, bat out of hell, not up yet, so doesn't want to take any chances. And facing down Reaper, I don't blame them. Already pretty deep into that build and going towards a Titan's Bane, or probably going to be a Brawler's? Or wait, no.
While you get yourself situated there, I want to talk about ThockManJones. Mr. Jones, as I called him in Season 2, has an amazing ability of, no matter how many times he gets pressured or dies, always on par with his opponent ADC, if not ahead, which we see right now. 0-4, but ahead of his opponent. That is a skill in an ADC that is rare to find, but when you do, that can be a real centerpiece for a team. And I talked about the synergy, KingFsher. There's not really an easier way to get to that synergy point than having an ADC who can kind of just be on an island and make it work.
True. You always love an ADC that's self-sufficient, and it frees up the junglers especially. We've already been over many times, I mean, I think on the draft, in the preseasons, in previous seasons, just how vital junglers are and their ganks to really getting you ahead when you have an ADC like that, because whenever an ADC is in trouble, their one and only way out is pretty much by being camped from the jungler, and it's really freeing when you don't have to worry about that. But now the jungler might be looking a solo lane. Printer is just going to walk away, though.
Kind of feels like a sort of a resetting moment. Primal Fury actually getting pulled by Dark Omen. 21 minutes, 8-9, and Primal Fury could be the target. Trying to add on to this 2k gold lead, and I think they're going to get away with it. But time might not be on their side, as Printers and Spence are way closer than anyone might have anticipated. But Printers gets pulled away from Home Sweet Home, and Dark Omen get the Primal Fury. Stormcallers just has to back up and regroup. Not able to get there in time, and kind of caught sleeping despite getting there. Royalty goes up into the air, but does not land on top. They think better of it, and they group up mid, potentially looking for Voulg, who blinks forward, but with the Riptide and 5 people around, 4, excuse me, it's not looking great for Voulg, but his tier is tanky, can compete. 5 for Stormcaller, so if this gets chased too far, Tides could turn quickly. Tides slam, nobody in them. Pyromancer up next for Dark Omen.
Dark Omen now going to try to move on to their 6th objective of the game. We'll see if they can get it. Stormcaller's here, and they're healthy. They're looking to take something away. Pyromancer are going to be dropped and taken away by the Stormcallers, and there's going to be a fight to follow.
Vincent's in trouble, and the trouble will prove to be true. CosmicVibez gets the credit. Nice steal from Stormcallers, just kind of out from under the nose of Dark Omen, a theme we're starting to see become common. Fight in mid, fight in right. Printer's in a lot of trouble in right, and does have that bat out of hell in mid. StepDentist, the one in trouble, and Death from Above trying to make it clear and clean, but the rotation from the ADC in ThockManJones is enough for Stormcallers to retreat. Somersault Cloud will aid in it on the slam down. Killing spree for Reaper. Printer's gone. Dark Omen pushing out mid lane, looking to chase down Voulg, chase out Mario, chase out Cosmic. Anyone you can find is the target. Royalty doesn't care how deep he has to dive for it. Dark Omen playing clean. The synergy is there.
They are, and if you're Stormcallers, you're just kind of wondering where it all went wrong. Had high health bars, had a man advantage, had a runic bomb as well. And it all just kind of slips away out of their fingers. That's not how you want that fight to end. Fight might not still be over. StepDentist still sticking around here in the mid lane, taking a little bit of tower poke for really nothing at all.
Well, it did get the Y on dispense. I mean, that's good for the mental RNG in StepDentist's favor. Oh, stops backing. Gonna take a bit of a poke battle with Cosmic. I doubt that'll turn into much. 24 minutes around the corner, Fisher. It's 9-10. The gold lead has felt samey, but now up to 4K for Dark Omen. The fights have been the real thing. It feels like Stormcallers just don't have a cohesive team fight. A lot of it, is it abilities getting burned early? Is it positioning from Dark Omen, keeping everybody too spread? What are you seeing?
I think a little bit of ultimate misuse would be, I think my primary guess. We really haven't seen Voulg land a ton of Lawbringers, which this is a pretty CC light team. Outside of the tier and maybe Nox hitting her combo, which Spark has also been having a bit of trouble with. They don't have much, and Voulg forced to burn that ultimate again, gets stunned out by the Emoja on the back end. Still pretty healthy though, gonna escape just fine. And just like that, their main engage is gonna be off the table for another minute.
In the meantime, 4 of Stormcallers were in mid. Now Dark Omen's actually going to look at the Fire Giant. Printer's going to take the deep route and go for the flank, so keep your eye on the bottom of the map and the Camazotz. As Fire Giant's down below half health, Dark Omen is full committing. They're going to 50-50. There was Rebuke comes out. Voulg doesn't have the ultimate, but Death from Above was available. Fire Giant still up, hasn't been dropped yet. Through the Cosmos, use 2. Stormcallers get the Fire Giant. Royalty cleans up CosmicVibez. And Dark Omen now kind of just have to go for a revenge tour. TMJ is going to lead the way and look for Voulg and find the kill onto Voulg. Royalty gets a double and finds Mario, bro, and this Fire Giant steal has kind of turned around the bad way for Stormcallers. Spence got credit for one against Royalty, who was diving deep anyway, but now only 2 members have Fire Giant, and they're both in trouble. And the mid-tier 2's actually going to get dropped by Dark Omen. That could not have gone worse for Stormcallers despite the steal.
Really couldn't have, and now they're going to push onto the Phoenix. Spence Spark still here and still tanky, lands a big silence, and Printer's coming up to TMJ, forced out of the Phoenix.
Phoenix not getting dropped as fast as they may have liked. Reaper actually gets a bit of trouble, has to use that ultimate. Phoenix just now down to half. They can't get in easy enough as they may have wanted. Reaper will slam and finally find Spence, and the Phoenix will drop as well, but was it too late for Reaper? That out of hell used, and it is too late for Reaper. Goodbye to the solo. Printers has another kill. 3 now for the Camazotz. Home sweet home used, just to try to keep Cosmic at bay and stay safe from Death from Above. And Dark Omen will retreat, will set up. By the way, left lane, Titans got unleashed during all that chaos, so we'll have a pretty quick turnaround in this fight.
Wondering if that was really the smartest call for Dark Omen. They do a great job getting the Phoenix down. They get a good kill, but they don't have Fire Giant. They're not going to be able to do anything with that Phoenix down, really. And now they can't even contest the Titans. Stormcallers are much healthier, and they're moving in for the kill.
Dark Omen is committing more than we may have thought, but they did get out of the way of Lawbringer. So the Titan advantage will go to Stormcallers. Blue is down, red still trucking, and the sound effect is fixed. That sounds nice. I like that.
It does sound very nice.
Better than the
love
fire giant noise. They used to scare me.
I kind of like that. I think it made the Titan seem very powerful, almost as powerful as a fire giant. But as any caster will tell you, fire giant is the most important thing ever, apparently. Ooh, and now Fury gonna be the target.
Brahma Fury will be the target as we cross into 27 minutes, and the game is close in terms of kills, but everything else has felt dominantly Dark Omen so far, between gold, experience, vibe. Unfortunate for CosmicVibez. Stormcallers just kind of needs to reset and find that chemistry, as Dark Omen has really quickly gotten a strong hold of exactly what we were looking for, which was the synergy.
It's a difficult thing to come by, especially in the middle of a game. They have looked polished all game, but they've done a really good job kind of clawing back the lead. That needs to be like some sort of official stat we can get calculated and added into the game. the vibe, just kind of some meter that swings like back and forth, telling you which team kind of has a feel for the advantage.
I'm a vibe watcher, Fisher.
That's okay. I'm gonna have to ask you to change your name to that in the Discord. It's now Vibe Watcher Malum. The vibe right now is that Tier 1 towers are not allowed on the map. That's gonna fall really easily.
Dark Omen now grouped up in the solo lane. They're gonna step up, and Stormcaller is gonna lightly defend this Tier 2. Not sure if that's the greatest move, but they do have health, and the wave isn't too pushed into the mid lane, which shouldn't be a massive problem. Voulg will try to make a play happen with Lawbringer, but it wasn't quite there. Reaper very poked out through it. And with the pillar use too, it's actually the combination of all the chaos there forced the ultimate out of Reaper. Which, I mean, not the craziest ultimate, but for Stormcallers at this point, any small W they can get is pretty important and massive.
I'd say under the Sun Wukong, it would be pretty good given the context of this game. I think Reaper has found at least 2, maybe 3 of those 4 kills using the Somersault Cloud, has used it for an escape once at the Phoenix that they shouldn't have been able to get away with at the time. Doing really, really good, and actually did end up selling that Tier 2 Titan's Bane for the Brawlers. So I wasn't wrong. I was getting really turned around when they bought that item.
I was worried about you. My job is to make you look smart. I let it go. I figured you'd figure your way out. You got there. It's like you were going through the maze on the cereal box, but your crayon was broken. You found a good crayon, and we got to the end of the maze together.
That's really the saddest moment when you're at a restaurant and the crayon they give you just breaks and you're forced to use like the dole end. There's never a more harrowing moment at a restaurant, but now Printers might be in some trouble. Wishing he had some crayons to draw himself out of this situation. StepDentist still going to be chasing down, but decides better of it. Probably wise.
Lawbringer forced 2. A nice sidestep there, Printers. Don't think we didn't see that. Even on ping, that was clean to avoid the Baba's Brew. But the reality of it is the same. Dark Omen able to step up deep in the jungle and prepare for the EFG, and Stormcallers is going to have to respect it. They did get their mid-Phoenix back up. One more fire wave to deal with. Dark Omen, as we get the 30 minutes, they're not in an amazingly perfect spot like they may have felt like a bit ago, but they're in a good one. Reaper forced to use Somersault Cloud again. Fire Giant getting pulled. 30-minute mark crosses. Fire Giant going to go to Dark Omen. And they'll get it clean, and they still have Reaper up, who's actually almost killed Mario in the meantime. Reaper will fall, but the Blades finds a stun, and CosmicVibez took a lot of damage. Dark Omen going to step up behind TMJ into the skies. Is Royalty on the landing. It's a dead Spence. And Dark Omen now have 1 down, and Mario poked out in the fountain. Perfect time to go for the Phoenix.
They're gonna try it, might get it. Voulg goes into the backline, gets a double stun. Printers is there too. Phoenix is dropped. Can Dark Omen get out alive?
Dark Omen have split. They went 2 and 2 to try to control Printers, who got forced into the bat out of hell. Dark Omen was able to regroup from behind it. Nobody took serious poke. Still no solo laner. Lack of front line for Dark Omen. They have to rely on Binsen, which is enough for Dark Omen to call a calmness from the siege and solo and look to better things. They're going to clear out the jungle. And where do you have him going next, Fish?
It's a little difficult to say. I'd normally go for Oni Fury, because I think Oni Fury is great. They're pretty far in control of this game. I don't see too much of a danger of them really misplaying an objective like that. But the fact that there are 2 Phoenixes at half HP, if you look at Stormcallers, who are also heading that direction, they could literally start running it down the mid lane and probably get both of those Phoenixes. They can't win off of it, but they're going to look to contest the Oni Fury. TMJ's arrived.
The Oni Fury is below half. ThockMan is not afraid to step up and take it on. Had the TIE Fighter shots too, and that was enough. Stormcaller is going to get out of there. So that's a Fury for Dark Omen, and now we've seen this before, and with the the brains on these teams. We know where this is going. They're going to push up with the Oni waves, clear out that tier 2 tower. And Stormcallers, ironically, need to be prepared to take on the Storm from Dark Omen.
And it's going to be a raging one. They're heading down the left lane now. Oni wave's just now coming up, so they're going to have one normal wave before those enhanced hit. The tier 2 is no problem, but if they can get this Phoenix and get a kill off of it, it could be a game-ending play. Those other two are not tanky enough to withstand a demand disadvantage. Dark Omen, though, they're going to have to wait about another 30 seconds until these Oni waves get here. Royal in the mid lane isn't content to just sit around.
Somebody's going to have to make the play here, and this is where the chemistry versus synergy comes to a head, because the comms are now key. Who makes the call to go in? Who gets rid of that fear of standing at the door? Stormcallers look like they're ready to make a play, and Voulg has set its go time with the land down and the pull in on StepDentist. That's a problem, but the Impale works against Stormcallers, and they have saved StepDentist. Royalty and Printers with a 1v1 in the mid lane, and Royalty is getting the better of it so far, but Printers gets away, and Voulg finds Royalty. Dark Omen are now the ones in trouble. Reaper almost got picked off too, and no Siege, just one Phoenix, two Phoenixes for Dark Omen. A nice defense from Stormcallers, but that's the problem of Oni minions. They're still going in. Voulg with the missed Fearless, nobody saw it, cover your eyes. And that's going to be the end of the fight. Things are going to calm down for maybe 2 minutes until they can get back in, because Dark Omen did get those two Phoenixes, Fisher.
And 2 minutes is a great call. That's when the Fire Giant's coming back up. If you're a Dark Omen fan or even a Stormcaller enjoyer, you know that enhanced Fire Giant, it's going to be the next thing off the map. It's going to be the next focus. Rightfully so. If you're a Stormcallers, there's not a whole ton you can do to really get out ahead of it. I'd love to see them play some aggressive wards, but they have enhanced minions going down left and mid. You can't really afford to try to push up, try to get a tier 2 tower to kind of alleviate the pressure before that Fire Giant spawns. They're just not going to be able to deal with that onslaught. Stormcallers need to play some really defensive Smite until that EFG comes onto the map.
I think the most unfortunate thing, I feel bad even drawing attention to it, but it was the most impactful thing we saw. They almost had a pick onto the Baba Yaga, but the Impale saved StepDentist.
Never something you love to see. At least it didn't lead to something worse. It's unfortunate, but could be not as good. Now Spence Spark tries to get aggressive. Might have been a misplay. Noxo gonna get the dash away. Pillar just late. We've passed by that a little bit. Mario has had some awesome pillars this game.
Yeah, for sure. That's been the highlight from this on her so far. Having a tough time matching Ishtar at times, but other times doing more than needed. Voulg goes aggressive, and a follow-up too. Spence had to get with CosmicVibez, and Dark Omen is kind of making something out of what was an awkward engage altogether from Stormcallers. It turns into a double kill for StepDentist. Gonna look for more. It's a triple kill for StepDentist. Now a 2v3 in the throne room, but there's no Phoenixes and there's lots of minions. Printer's doing what he can. StepDentist trying to stay alive. TMJ steals the Quadra, but more importantly, drops the Printers. Dark Omen having only one person to stop them, and it's CosmicVibez. And this is an uphill battle. They're going to step into the throne room. It's already down to half, and Cosmic hasn't found any damage yet. Gets forced into the fountain, and that should do it. That's game one. It goes the way of Dark Omen with one feel-good kill for Vibes at the end.
Let me say, those animations were clean. That was amazing. But good props to Dark Omen, who really brought that out. Started a little slow, but really managed to sink the gold lead. And no matter what the kills said, you saw Dark Omen was always ahead in that gold, and they really transferred that into a big W.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like the map control started to fall heavily into Dark Omen's favor there. Kind of around that first beacon spawn where they kind of won the team fight. They lost 2 players, but The other three were completely healthy, and Stormcallers were not able to step up in order to do anything at that beacon spawn. It kind of feels like around that team fight is when everything started to go into Dark Omen's favor, slowly but surely, and they were able to close out that game, taking out all the birds. And unfortunately for Cosmic, he was not able to hold out by himself there for that Titan defense. But I mean, a fantastic game from both sides nonetheless.
And like you were saying, they took these team fights very well, and they always made sure if they lost a little, they gained more. All right, we're losing some teammates, we'll get this beacon. We're gonna lose Fire Giant, we'll take your whole team. It always just seemed like they were constantly pushing forward, and there was no break. And they took every lead they had and just kept pushing with it, pushing with it, pushing with it. Because when games start going on longer, it's all about who's gonna make the first mistake, right? Stormcallers did a great job standing, creating defenses, but they were trying to find the chink in the armor, and they just couldn't seem to find it. And Dark Omen just proved that they had all the mess up once, but throughout the game, they just showed that they were not going to mess up. They were going to take it to the end. And it was very invested play by both teams, but bend don't break didn't really work for Stormcallers.
Yeah, I mean, TMJ did a fantastic job of being down in the early game. Again, 0-4 at one point, Anthony pointed out. And but still was a level up at that time, even though he was 4 deaths, and he spent a little bit of time at the gray screen thinking about what's been going on that game. But still able to come out on top, and still able to look fantastic on the Ishtar that game alongside all the other members. Again, it just seems like even though there was a lot of pressure on TMJ there in the early game, there was a lot more map presence across the map for the rest of the team, and they were able to do a lot with that thanks to Through the Cosmos and some great Riptides being able to just move around the map as much as possible. I mean, some really great pressure across the whole board for the team. So
There I am. All right, sorry, little vanishing trick on you guys, but something I remembered was a little Smite STL lore for everyone out there. TMJ actually helped out my team with Voulg and Spent Spark last season. So there's a little bit of a teacher-student kind of storyline going on here. And as you can see, the teacher still got some lessons for the students as we come out with a Dark Omen victory. But they're definitely proving that they're not going to go down without a fight. They're going to take every lesson to heart. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in this next game, too. What do you want to see to change for this next game?
well, I mean, for Stormcallers, I feel like what they were doing in the early game was working out really well for them, but it seems like there might have been a little bit of some communication disconnect from some of the players, because there's a few team fights, particularly around that tier 1 tower in mid, that it seems like there were some people diving in really deep looking for kills, whereas the call for some others were to step back. And it seems like because of that, there was a little bit of that, again, disconnect, and they were just not able to get as many kills as they wanted, and they lost a few more health bars in the process. Again, I remember one team fight near the beginning of that game where 3 members of Stormcallers went down for only 1 on Dark Omen under the tier 1 tower. And so again, it seemed like Spence was kind of taking a step back the whole time, like he really didn't want to be in that fight. And I mean, they paid the price a little bit. So maybe it was just a little bit of disconnect from the members. And so definitely something that needs to get wrapped up in a nice little bow for game number 2 coming out from Stormcallers. But all in all, I mean, I feel like their draft worked out really well. They just started to get a little bit pressured out near the mid game. I mean, once Baba Yaga's damage started becoming online and she wasn't dying in any of the team fights, she was able to put out massive amounts of damage. And so maybe being able to match that damage a little bit would be something that we could definitely like to see. And maybe again, like you were kind of saying in game 1, not a whole lot of magical damage for Stormcallers. So maybe they elect to pick a more traditional mage in the mid lane this game, and maybe just look to potentially just ban the Marty to not allow Dark Omen to play it themselves. And we can go ahead and see that once we get here into picks and bans for game number 2. Stormcallers are first pick this game, and they're starting off with that Baba Yaga ban. They don't want to have another MTV Cribs tour after the game 1.
That's a perfect. I've never heard anyone say that about Baba Yaga, but it fits so well. And I do gotta agree with you. I think I want to see a little more cohesion rather than dive, because it felt like there's a lot of aggression on the Stormcallers, which is great, but it was individual aggression. you saw some people ult in to try to take it, but they had no follow-up. Or they would burn beads. At one point I saw Voulg take beads out of at least 2 people, but his teammates weren't there to kind of capitalize on top of that. Spence wasn't there with the silence and the cripple, or Cosmic couldn't be there to root, and it would just kind of started giving issues. So I feel like Stormcallers has it. They just need to dial it in and tune it in. Looking at these bans, though, it's a bit of the same from last game. Terrified of that Thor and the threat that he brings. Got to respect the Anvil of Dawn. And then we got Kali as well, the unkillable menace. Nobody wants to deal with that because you can't knock her up, back, all that stuff. All you can do is stun her, and you got to be very careful what you're using there.
Yeah, and I mean, again, maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe Printers is just godlike on the Thor, and that's why they keep first banning it. Or maybe they just don't want that global pressure to be coming out from the jungle pick, and so they elect to first ban it once again on the side of Dark Omen, even though they're second pick this game. And a Marty ban coming out, love to see it. They didn't do it in game 1, and I mean, Cosmic looked really strong on it, but unfortunately they didn't get a win out of it, but still looked really good on it. So I do respect them banning it out, especially because now they're no longer first pick, so they can't elect to pick it, even though they didn't elect to pick it in the
Take
first game.
pleasure in the
But
crushing of
and
one's
then a Hachi,
enemies.
Kali, and Kronos ban coming out. I know Cosmic loves that Kronos pick, so definitely something to respect out of him. So, and a Robin ban coming out first for Stormcallers. How do you feel about the Robin pick?
I'm very excited to see the Robin pick. Robin always comes out like Sun Wukong when Bruiser meta comes because he gets those shields and it's hard to take them off of him. So if he starts building tankier and he's just constantly giving himself shields, then it's just a problem. But then he got Jormungandr, 2 of the top solo laners for this meta, both going off in the solo lane. It's going to be exciting to see what Voulg can do against Reaper in this. And I gotta say, it's going to be very exciting to see who can come out on top. The constant, the one who's spitting all the time, or you got the fiery fists, multiple heads dude. Poor descriptions of both of them, but I believe in game you'll see massive damage come out from both of them. It's exciting to see who's going to come out on top of that matchup.
I definitely think that's the canon description for both of those gods for the SDL going forward. I think we need to start using that more often. So,
Spitter and head guy.
Rivers Rebuke once again locked in on the side of Dark Omen with that Yamoja pick selected. And so looked great game 1. And so I'm glad to see that Benson's going to be looking to pick it again for game number 2. And an Athena lock-in coming in for Spence this game from Stormcallers. Again, I was talking about yesterday on the desk how I mean, I think that Athena is being slept on right now pretty heavily by some of these supports. I could be mistaken. Some people think, oh, you taunt and then she has no peel afterwards, which is a fair argument to be had. But if you're effective on those taunts, she can be such a powerhouse in the support role and bring a lot to the team. And again, something that I talk about a lot with her is conditioning. She can condition a lot of these mid players or ADC players or even junglers. If they're squishy junglers, can condition them to using relics when they don't want to, or having to use their ultimates when they don't want to, because they're so scared of a taunt coming through and them getting.
I should have created a world that you do not exist.
A Rom coming through. Usually, Rom and Ravin aren't necessarily friends, according to lore, but it looks like they're going to be friends this game, both on the side of Stormcallers.
And kind of going off that Athena pick, it's very good and bad going to this Yorm. The passive for Athena is just gone, right? Those block stacks are just going to burn away as Yorm spitting on you. But her taunt is one of the few CC abilities that can actually get Yorm to move, right? So it won't work up knockups, knockback, displacement, all that, but she can actually get Yorm to displace. So I feel like that's one of the big things that she could do based on most other people, right? Because a lot of them inefficient, like Geb, the rollout. Can't do anything with that. Sylvanas with the grab. You can stun him where he stands, but you can't pull him. So Athena can make Yorm back off. Not only stop pursuing, but go in an opposite direction, which I'm kind of excited to see. Coming out, though, for our bands, we've got 2 executioners coming in the forms of Thanatos and Achilles. Achilles always strong in the solo lane, but I guess they're scared of him being in the jungle, which I can't say I've seen a lot, but I'm gonna take their fear for it and say it's always scary to walk into an execution.
Yeah, I mean, and again, Ravin is technically an assassin, so he can be flexed to the jungle role, the assassin role. So it's not something you traditionally see. And so if you're scared of an Achilles execute potentially coming out, then, I mean, Achilles can also be flexed to the jungle, in my opinion. And so banning that out because you're kind of scared of it. Achilles has a decent matchup into Yorm and can blow him up very easily. with the right setup and right damage around him, and then execute. If he charges it at the proper time, Yorm won't be able to escape in time with his World Serpent. So a good ban coming out nonetheless. Disco ban coming out as well. Love to see the Disco ban coming out. And an Ishtar locked in from Dark Omen. And I mean, looked good game 1 on it, so let's run it back for game number 2.
Now, the one question I have is, do you think Stormcallers isn't respecting the Ishtar enough? Because I feel like ThockMan might have not seemed like he was doing stuff, but I think that was almost a tactic, right? He just kind of plays it support in the first game, and then next game he really shows you why you should have banned out that Ishtar. And I'm looking to see him go really explosive this game with that Ishtar pick. But now we got a Merlin coming out, and then we got our Hun Bats. And as I was saying earlier, this god you can never go wrong with him when it comes early, mid, late. As level 5, you always got to be scared. Because one fun interaction I figured out is if you ult as Cerberus and he puts his down, he can stop you from choosing a direction, and it's always fun to see. No, yeah, I learned that the hard way. I'd turn and he'd go into a wall every time and not into the tower, and there's a lot of colorful words coming out there. But it's another action. I think about it. It's another displacement CC that can be used on Yorm. So they're really working. Stormcallers is really working their way around this displacement inability against Yorm, and they're just saying we don't care. We'll find ways around it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, even if you can't necessarily displace the Yorm, being able to proc his passive and being able to deal more damage to him because of that can also be very effective. And Merlin has a way to proc Yorm's passive, and Merlin is the king of burning down people. So Merlin, another fantastic lock-in coming out for CosmicVibez in the mid lane, looking very strong, and I'm hoping that he will continue to have a good performance as he had on the Marty in game 1. Well, hopefully better this game, so we can at least see a game 3. I'd be really excited to see that. But last pick coming out for Dark Omen was a Bakasura pick, and I have to say, I mean, Bakasura is such a strong jungler, and where do you think he's going to be applying all that early game pressure on?
I think you got to really go solo lane, because if you can starve them out of mana, the solo laners can kind of start to panic. And if your solo laner can take advantage of the totem and then be on there for their blue, then you're just constantly starving the solo laner out of his source of fighting, right? Every solo laner wants to just fight. Use abilities off cooldown. And if you can kind of get in their head by making them have to conserve mana in every way, then I think that's where the Bakasura is really going to be most powerful. ThockMan's shown he can really kind of stand out on his own. So I think that Bakasura is going to be most beneficial in the solo lane, making sure the solo laner can't get the mana they need, and just controlling them, putting Voulg underneath his tower to do everything and not letting him out whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean, going back off that pick as well, I mean, Baka is, again, being in the solo lane over there with a Yorm in lane with it. I mean, there's a lot of bully potential that could be coming out on Voulg in the solo lane over there, so it's definitely something they got to keep an eye out for.
I agree. We're going to send you into game 2. Anthony and KingFsher again will meet you in there. Have fun, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, Handsome Me and Handsome S. Once again, I'm AnthonyMalum, joined by KingFsher. Stormcallers versus Dark Omen. We're in game 2, and things are happening quick. Reaper's low in right, and we saw some aggression on the left. Fisher, let's try to get our bearings and figure out what's going on already.
I mean, I think before we get into any of the action, I just want to look at Dark Omen's team comp and say, I am so excited to see the way this team plays. So many picks we don't normally see. The Yorm, the Bakasura, the Tiamat, even the Umoja. Kind of an oddity here in Season 3 of the SDL. It's a lot of picks you don't get to see a whole ton, especially Jormungandr has been the target of a ton of bans this season.
He has, and they made a really great point on the desk 2 games in a row with that. Kudos to the desk guys, where it feels like Stormcallers drafted answers for Jormungandr, which is something we're not used to seeing, but the answers could really give them control over the World Serpent, and you make that a non-issue, it can drastically change the course of this game.
It really can. Any solo laner, if left unchecked, can just do absolute damage. We saw that last game on the Sun Wukong. I think Reaper, probably one of the shining stars there of that draft. If you can do it on a pick as scary as Yorm, and like they've talked about, hard to lock down, can be even worse. Good double taunt, but ThockManJones able to just dash away. The Rama doesn't really have too much kill potential right now, but Royalty does. Just gonna walk away though.
just trying to create the room needed to go for shield buff, perhaps. But regardless, a big bit of a spook for the Stormcallers to deal with Royalty and the Baka. We also saw the Reaper got low and right, so keep your eyes across the map as there's action everywhere. Taunt in on Benson, but nothing too much of it. Shield buff did go uncontested to Dark Omen around the Baka, actually. Now going deep in the jungle. Gonna wait at the chest, but we'll run into Printers. So we're gonna have a bit of a 1v1 around the chest minions. One's eaten by Royalty. Printers goes aggressive. Benson low under tower. We'll see if Stormcaller is able to rotate or if they let this play out. Royalty will get away from Printers, but the chase ensues from the Hoombots, not giving up. Now the pings come out too, but that's gonna lead TMJ and Benson back to Royalty. They're gonna cut off Printers. So the advantage I pointed out is already gone, and this is still continuing. Just now, Printers will jump over and go for the escape. Now the roles are reversed, and finally, the junglers break away.
Printers able to escape. Maybe I'm crazy. Don't really know what they were doing following the Bakasura in that far, but they're trying to get them again. Tiamat steps up with the Tornado, already level 5, 3 minutes in. And that is going to dissuade the Hun bots. Probably just wasted about 45 seconds there, but you know, they don't die, and Bakasura eats the same amount of time. So, not really a bad play from the Hun bots, just maybe a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm like, all right, maybe cinnamons for head scratcher, vibes, metaphor, something fun. But no, I got nothing. Just a bit of weirdness and oddities. But hey, at the same time, we talked about it early in the season, figuring things out. Maybe that was just a play where it was a limit test for Printers, testing out that EU charm, seeing if Stormcallers would follow up. Lots of potential answers there. TMJ's caught out with no mana in the taunt by Spent Spark, but Mario Bro is not in the best spot to follow up. So the Ishtar will get away with the help of Benson and really just movement speed. Did not work out great for Spence there, despite a good taunt.
Very good taunt, and one thing we also haven't talked about on the side of ThockManJones, not gonna elect to go with the Death Toll starter item, which has kind of been like by far and away the most popular choice for the ADC. I think it's probably the best choice right now. But that Eye of the Jungle is gonna give them power, attack speed, I think maybe a bit of movement speed, but probably useful in the long term too, as Death's Toll never gets upgraded. We might see a Protector of the Jungle coming out there eventually.
I remember that tech from TMJ. I remember seeing that in the kitchen a lot in Season 2. I remember asking you about it a ton, and I remember every time thinking, all right, let's see, and then every time, nearly, it worked out. So I like seeing that run back. It's not like it's bad. There's a lot of value to get out of it. We didn't really get to see too much last game of how it would have played out because it was an interesting late game. Printers having an interesting early game, running into Royalty again, but able to step away from the Bakasura. Despite how rough that looked, now Defender of Olympus drops in mid, and StepDentist is in a bit of trouble. CosmicVibez is there, but with Benson coming around the corner, enough for things to reset, but they all reset the same direction. StepDentist able to back away. CosmicVibez with flicker in, and some damage, but is it enough? It is! He finds it! They all took the same route home, and CosmicVibez was able to find it onto StepDentist, if not an awkward pathing. Royalty looking to continue the chaos with the gank in duo, but it was more of an Ooga Booga as opposed to anything else, and just scares Mario away for the moment. No actual gank out of it.
Great kill there in the mid lane by the Merlin, and with the fire stance, that's difficult to do at a far range. I was a little surprised when they just clipped the edge of that Dragon's Breath there under the tower. Gets in anyway though, and a good opening to mid lane. And it feels like there might have been something we missed in game 1 that happened between these two junglers, because they're just kind of running around the map with each other, just sending abilities each other's way. Now Benson under tower is low, has to step up to try and save StepDentist. He's going to do just that, but there goes Printers blinking in, can't find the damage.
Printers may have gotten thrown off a bit by blanking into a minion that turned into a body block, so not able to do what maybe Printers wanted to do there. Thankfully, it doesn't lead to anything too negative, just no positives for Stormcallers. A weird 6 minutes, but the fact of the matter is right now, facts of the case, as some may say, it's just 1-0. A couple thousand gold early on. Not the biggest deal in the world. XP lead is leaning towards Stormcallers, but it feels weird early on.
A little bit inconsistent, kind of. Feels like everybody wants to fight, but nobody wants to fight. It's a little back and forth. at the moment. I definitely expect that to change as time goes on, especially looking at that Dark Omen draft. Once they start dropping the KingFsher ultimates and the River's Rebuke, it's going to get dangerous. Defender of Olympus onto the left side of the map. TMJ gets out of there in a hurry. Still has Bead, still has Blades of Retribution. Not much you can do against an Ishtar when she has those two up.
A lot of hinting of playmaking here. There's a lot of potential options. It's a choose your own adventure, but we keep choosing the path of least aggression. TMJ still standing aggressive, knowing Binsen's on the way. Royalty looks at CosmicVibez in the mid lane. Cosmic safe and Regurgitate already used. TMJ steps up in lane with Binsen, enough for Stormcallers to back up, and still all this chaos. And it's weird because last game it felt like it was calm, but we saw them doing a lot of things. Both teams were establishing ward pressure, getting control of the map, rotating around. This time it kind of feels more like, oh, let's go here, let's do this. Defender of Olympus, come on me. It's a little bit less cohesion than we're getting accustomed to seeing.
Really is, and I don't know if it's just, oh, beautiful taunt after the knockup by Spin Spark. Don't know if I've seen that interaction a whole ton. But it's kind of hard to figure out if it's just maybe a little bit of these teams unsure of what they want to do, if there's maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. They're trying to initiate too many different ways and it's just not working, which I think oftentimes can kind of be what it is. I wouldn't expect that after game one, though. Both the teams looked really polished. I'd say maybe it's a little bit of nerves here in game two, not wanting to get off to the wrong foot.
That definitely could be it. Definitely for Stormcallers, maybe a bit of a culture shock. They strike me as a team with a lot of confidence and a clear strategy, and if it didn't work out, probably not a panic moment. I'm sure there is a plan B that they had, but definitely all right, let's reset and feel things out. And for Dark Omen, for them, I kind of feel like it was all right, how can we just do that again? Because that was great. That was our first game together, barring scrims, but how can we recapture that and put it in a bottle?
One of the big things they're going to need to kind of recapitalize on was just their feel in team fights. I mean, Stormcallers initiated a pretty good amount, but Dark Omen just felt beyond polished in all of those. And so far, it really hasn't felt that way from either team. To be fair, though, we really haven't seen a big scale engage. I think that's where we started to see it for Dark Omen. It was kind of around that 15-minute mark where they really came alive after, again, in that early game, they didn't do a whole ton game one either, so nothing to be concerned about yet for these teams, but it's definitely weird seeing them play this kind of different. Not off, but different.
In the last time we talked about Gold Experience, and nothing much has changed since then. No action there. Could have been. If ThockManJones had decided to go in with a Jolt, could have seen a 1v1, but not taken there. But yeah, I remember last game. We're coming up on 10 minutes. I gave our 10-minute recap, and we were in a completely different state. Everybody was setting up for the beacon. You were making points about that. It felt like things were getting more and more aggro, and we were starting to pay for talking about how calm it was. This time, it doesn't feel that way. This time, it almost feels like I'm kind of expecting it to not start going for another 5 minutes as opposed to maybe 2 or 3. I'm expecting it maybe even further than that to stay calm while they try to get themselves to late game.
I would say that too, but now that we've mentioned it, it's just going to change immediately. It does every time casters try to talk about something. So I'm sure we'll see the fireworks any minute here. And yeah, it does feel like we talk about beacons in these seasons so much, but they just control so much at the pace of the game now, it's really hard not to mention it. And if I had to guess, I'd guess around 12 and a half minutes is where we're going to see our first big team fight. Royalty, though, doesn't want to wait that long, has Regurgitate. No one to kind of ult onto, though, so gonna have to hold on to that a little bit longer. Been using it to burn the beads pretty well off of CosmicVibez in the mid lane.
Printers and Spence both slowly heading over towards that mid lane. Printers actually stepped off towards gold and ran into Royalty. So now we're at 11, so keep your eyes on those rotations we're talking about. Same story across the board for Relics, with the only exception being a Purification Beads for Royalty, so no blink for the Baka. Does go in on the shield buff. Regurgitate used. Printer is getting poked out, but Defender of Olympus available. Mario Bro poking out Royalty, and does have the snipes and heads up into the air. He needs one more snipe, but he has to hit it, and he does not find it onto Royalty, so survival for the Bakasura. Stormcallers unable to make anything out of that, but they do get the shield buff, and we're 30 seconds out from Stygian Beacon, and Stormcallers have established a bit more control to be able to step over there, at least for the time being.
Yeah, but so much of this fight for this Order team is really going to rely around the Fear No Evil there from the Hunbots. It's one of the best CC tools in the game, and you're going to need it. You're going into Regurgitate, the River's Rebuke, whatever one of Tiamat's ultimate she picks. It's not going to be an easy fight in that congested space. Jungler here has to do something incredible, and we're going to see what they're able to do. Both teams here in spades.
It's going to be chaotic. Look towards the right, look at Printers, watch for the Fear No Evil like Fisher said. Printers goes in, Fear No Evil used, Royalty and Binsen both in trouble from it. Printers goes aggressive on the jump forward, finds Royalty and drops the Baka. Now the Beacon is clearly in control of Stormcallers. Dark Omen have spread, Jormungandr using World Serpent to try to get some of that space back. But it appears at this point, Stormcallers, and they do, get the Stygian Beacon. Dark Omen did not make a mistake we saw last game from both teams of overstaying your welcome at the Stygian Beacon after you've clearly lost the initial engagement.
And it's a theme I'm kind of glad to see out of the game. It feels like it's becoming all too common now. Teams, they get a little bit of confidence, they get a great objective, they play it cleanly, and then they just kind of tunnel vision, and they go for the next kill or the next objective without kind of stopping and take stock of where they're at. Luckily, not going to be the case here for Stormcallers, and wouldn't you know it, a big Fear No Evil is one to take that away. Printer's doing a great job, and getting around into the backline too. Especially getting around a Yemoja, that's not easy to do, and nearly killed Binsen as well.
Any pickups at this point, right? Anything to kind of break this, not stalemate, but you mentioned it, we need to start tracking the vibes. The vibes of this one are leaning stalemate. 13 minutes, 2-0. I talked about a 2K and a slight 3K gold lead. We're up to 4K now for Stormcallers. Still not the end of the world. The XP is still on the same path. The biggest disparities in that jungle between Printers and Royalty, so worth keeping an eye on the junglers. Second relic, online for Printers, so small advantage for the short while.
It's been a little odd too to see the Bakasura not really been as aggressive as we're used to seeing. It could be that Hunbots is ahead, but this might be the first real gank we see here from Royalty. Still has Regurgitate. Voulg is going to be the target. Ravana's hard to kill. Ravana jumps over the wall. Oh, and there goes the Regurgitate that slows out.
And it's trouble for Voulg, but plenty tanky. Oh, but the Riptides are beautiful. The double pullback, basically, but Voulg is still tanking through it. Manticore Glad Shield, do you need anything else? Voulg says no, says thank you to the balance of the game, and steps away safely to the tower. That was a lot committed on right, which means left is up to TMJ for the steal. The blades come out. Gold Fury gonna get taken by Stormcallers. It was close, but not quite there for TMJ. Trouble for Spence, but the Defender of Olympus got off. Fear No Evil used as well. And all of a sudden, Dark Omen find themselves without any clear targets, and Stormcallers are able to full retreat. Person in the most trouble is Printers with a jump into the tier 2 tower. Will get away safely, so Stormcallers did it. The heist is complete. Anything at this point is gravy, but no gravy needed for this Thanksgiving dinner. They'll step away clean and safely.
I like that Dark Omen didn't overcommit to that push. Still, though, would have been kind of nice to see them all group up on one person. I think they went like 2 or 3 different directions, trying to chase them all down, but they were a little bit on the back foot. I don't know if they were expecting that Gold Fury call. TMJ did show up a little bit late on that, and they do have some wards around there, so maybe just a little bit off, but now a taunt landed onto the Tiamat. No nearby teammates, though, means StepDentist. Not in too much trouble, not going to bother using that Aegis amulet.
Yeah, I bet they would have liked to burn that, but I think both teams are aware of how much patience they're allowed to expel currently with the state of this game.
They should be. And another interesting build choice here from TMJ, did it last game, but going to be going back into the Griffin Wing earrings. I think we talked a lot near the playoffs of last season about just how broken those items could be, but still not really meta despite all the good stats. Now tier 1 in right is going to fall. No earring's going to be fast enough to save that tower. It's going to fall. Jormungandr, though, does sense the pressure coming, able to get out of there. Now Stormcallers not going to stick around here on right.
They could have probably looked for a pyro, and the tier 1 in mid is getting pressured out. So interesting to reset there, but at the same time, they're really starting to slow burn this lead to be even more crisp and firm. And I think that's going to be more and more difficult for Dark Omen to deal with as we move further into the game, because Voulg on this Raven, we've seen it in every division where we had those scrims and those preseason specials, even the games that didn't make it. onto those specials. Robin is just nasty right now and impossible to deal with when, not even just when you get ahead, when you have items. Combine the two, it's trouble. Pyromancer will get pulled by Stormcallers and should be okay unless Jormungandr has something to do with it, but he does not. And Stormcallers get it for free.
Good pyro call there from the Stormcallers. Also expected it a little bit earlier, I think, like you said. But they do get it anyway. Blades of Retribution are going to come out, stun no one. Good taunt from the Athena. An early Aegiso going to be enough to dissuade Stormcallers as they just kind of back up. And Beacon and Gold Fury both coming up in about another minute and a half, 2 minutes. We've seen Stormcallers do a really good job controlling both those objectives the first time around. Like you said, the vibe meter, they're kind of tilted in favor of Stormcallers right now. Their lead's grown even more. If I'm Dark Omen, I'd look to strike quick and fast, and it might be over here onto left lane, Bakasura lurking deep in the jungle.
Ooh, vibe meter. I like that one. I'm going to write that in my notebook. Regurgitate dropped on Spence, and Defender of Olympus is just not that fast. But look in the mid lane. Look what's being done with it. A burned and erased tier 2 tower off of the death of Spence Spark. I feel like Stormcallers will take that. Nice play call there from the blue side representing the Storm. And Chalk is smiling.
Indeed, watching over them, proud of how much they're applying this pressure over here on the solo side of the map. And that was shocking to see if you're a Stormcallers fan, just how quickly that Athena got burnt down there by the full might of Dark Omen. I know they really haven't grouped up a whole ton this week, or this game rather, but they've got some really good tools. Tiamat, Bakasura, Ishtar, all three picks that do a lot of damage really quickly. I'd like to see them have one big fight where they're really able to spread that around and get a lead early. Might not be the Beacon though. Stormcallers the first one here, but still waiting for that full team to arrive.
The second Beacon last game was an important one, and we saw the same amount of pressure, but this time Stormcallers is really set up for free. Matter of fact, they're breaking off from Beacon after getting it and sprinting towards that Primal, and look who's there. It's Royalty, forced to use the Blink to get away, will be in time. Vincent going to be the main contest. And Royalty actually sticking around for free. I thought they'd chase him out further. Oni Fury down low gets dropped by Stormcallers. No contest from Royalty. Dash forward from Rama. Printers follows. Fear No Evil burns the beads. Slam down from Voulg. And the snipes. Anything else? Anybody want to use? Fisher, you got anything you want to drop onto Royalty, who drops 3 kills now for Stormcallers to Dark Omens 1. And that one had a little bit of angst behind it.
They really wanted to get an extra play off of that, just like they did at 12.5 minutes. They get the Stygian Beacon and they move right onto the Gold Fury and get it without much trouble. Still looking at this tier 2, and one thing they've done different from last, it was about the 20-minute mark last game where they had a tier 1 tower killed. They've scraped all the tier 1s, one of the tier 2s off the map. Same story now for Dark Omen, but Tiamat might be in a little bit of trouble. They are deep in that jungle. Stormcallers don't really be looking to punish that. Wow, Grammar's hard.
It's okay. We've all been there, Fisher. We'll let that one go. You're free.
Thank you. Thank you.
But the Tiamat did get away, by the way. Got all aggressive, was between tier 2 and Phoenix did not get tier 2, but got away from it and did a little bit of damage to that Oni wave in mid, so a bit less effective on that one. But the one in right lane looks to be the priority for Stormcallers currently as they're grouping up there. 20 minutes, 3-1, gold lead 5k, about the same as we said before. Something's got to break for one of these teams. They both are playmaking teams with emotional mindsets. Maybe this is the first play to open things up. Royalty caught out in a taunt and has taken numbers from CosmicVibez, but not enough to hit the grayscale. And Stormcallers, once again, basically world is their oyster at this point.
It is. They seem to be able to do no wrong this match. And it's kind of a turnaround, but kind of not from last game. They got off to a very similar start, granted without as much of a gold lead, but just kind of kills-wise, pressure-wise, before Dark Omen really started to turn it around. And some of these picks they have are really scary at late game, but so far, they really haven't shown up to a whole ton, it felt like. We've been talking about the vibes all set long. It just feels like they haven't really been in this game. That's something you need to change with this team comp.
Voulg runs into StepDentist and Mystic Rush is off the mark onto the Tiamat. But the rest of Stormcallers is lurking around. They look for Binsen. Spent Spark is caught between two, and Regurgitate should seal the deal. Defender of Olympus, not in time again. Royalty gets the credit. Tier 2 gets dropped. Printers and Mario are going to go with the low side. CosmicVibez will push them down. Team J's already gone past. Fear No Evil Blink combo from Printer secures Royalty for the punishment of that Tier 2 tower, but ThockManJones did get away from it, so not an empty play from Dark Omen. Actually goes fairly well, all things considered.
Very well indeed. You're happy with the tier 2 tower at any stage of the game, and especially trading out a jungle for a support doesn't really feel the greatest, but the Humbots is already level 20. They're not getting any more of a lead, and the Emoja is one of the few places where Dark Omen, I think, are kind of ahead here. Binsen been farming a little bit more efficiently than Spent Spark so far. Now the Jormungandr are looking for his farm. Reaper has to use the ultimate to get out, and barely does.
I was close. Went a very late Book of Thoth there on the Jormungandr, and the lack of defense in that slot definitely showed in that engagement. Almost too little too late. Fire Giant now getting pulled by the Stormcallers. They're all 5 in the pit. The closest person by is StepDentist, and that's going to be a tough play to get in. Printers on the defense. StepDentist is just dewarding and cannot get there, certainly. Mystic rush forward from Voulg to commit to the defense, and that's going to be a Fire Giant. It's down to 2k health, 1500. Royalty with the blink, but it's too late. Stormcallers get the Fire Giant. They turn on Royalty after it. He gets dropped, and Printers gets the credit. Who's up next? Could be the Phoenix in left lane. Keep your eye on ThockManJones as the Phoenix is getting pushed, and Stormcallers will call a retreat and a reset to defend that Phoenix, and they will get there in time.
That's the second time now Dark Omen has kind of gotten a split over there onto that left side of the map and nearly taken a tower for it. Phoenix is able to withstand this time. ThockManJones did not have enough minions there with him. And I feel like last game I maybe mentioned it once or twice. The objective control, which is always something I talk about. Dark Omen just kind of had it. They lost 2 objectives the entire game 1, but now Stormcallers have not dropped a single one, and they're looking for another. Primal Fury going to be the target, so it might be more tricky. Jormungandr is close.
It's down to a quarter. Voulg ran into him, but the Reaper is stepping forward. Stormcallers will get it. Some big poke on to Spent Spark, but the shared poke on Binsen is enough for Dark Omen to walk away. They've got bigger things to defend, and Stormcallers has all the time in the world at the moment. They've put themselves in a really comfy spot, and they're making the most of it. I mean, you can look at every single department, it feels like, and see just a significant cosmic vibe beater for Stormcallers just off the charts. The matter of fact, the biggest thing Dark Omen has going might be that Tiamat. Spent Spark dashes in, but it could have been a dash to the death. Defender of Olympus will not be in time, and TMJ finds a kill onto Spent Spark 44. Jormungandr going to go aggressive and try to make an opening off of that death for Dark Omen. But Stormcallers is on the full retreat, so how will it work for them? Fear No Evil to try to secure the deal. Royalty gets dropped by Printers. Reaper not as unlucky after the snipes were a bit wide left. Mario Bro and Printer step back and join Voulg and CosmicVibez. So 1-for-1 currently, just a bit delayed. But Stormcallers, again, just trying to back up out of there. They took a bit too much poke, especially Mario Bro. So Dark Omen, Fisher, defend the tier 2 somehow.
They do. They nearly make a big mistake there. We mentioned it in passing in game 1, but overstepping, it managed to just not to. Binsen, though, taking a lot of damage, gets hit by the end of the taunt by the Athena. Printer is too low to follow up, though, and Binsen lives with maybe 100 HP, but Mario Bro, same cannot be said. Jormungandr gets one, still battling it out over that beacon in the mid lane.
And that was 5 stacks for the Jormungandr, by the way. So, massive for the Jorm.
Love getting 5 stacks, especially when you have 2 stacking items. Always feels pretty good to get those going.
That Book of Thoth is a grind. That's all I'm trying to say.
It is. Tablet Destinies can be too. Normally, though, I think that item does take significantly longer to stack than the Book of Thoth does. But building a stacking item for slot, it's not really a bad decision, but you really need that game to go a long ways. And if it's anything like game 1, it just might. Pyromans are now going to be dropped by Stormcallers 26 minutes into this match. Still haven't lost an objective, and with Titans marching down that right side of the map soon, Dark Omen gonna need to have another big defense.
We talked about gold throughout this game. It went from 2K to 3K to 4. Now we're at one of our biggest leads so far, if not the biggest, 6-4, favoring Stormcallers. Dark Omen feel like they just can't get a good footing, but the last fight showed more than signs of hope. I mean, that was their moment. They couldn't quite capitalize, but maybe with these Titans pushing up, if this is misplayed by the Stormcallers, Dark Omen has their intro. They have their way onto the stage just to start doing as they please. This has to be played right. If you're Dark Omen, what kind of call are you making here to try to turn the tides to your favor in this upcoming fight? Maybe it starts with Baka getting out of left?
That'd certainly be a step. I don't know how much they can afford to contest this Titan. They've lost all 3 beacons, so Stormcallers do have that 15% increased damage. Bakasura needs to get back soon, but I think they're making the right call in not trying to push up, get that Titan. They can maybe try for a tier 2 defense, but the Titans are tanky. If I'm them, I'm already thinking about a Phoenix defense.
Printers is already backed to stop the split push of Royalty, so it's going to be a 4-on-4 by the Titans. Dark Omen's Titan has already dropped. Stormcallers grouped up around there is kind of looking for that opening KingFsher talked about. Voulg's going to force the issue with the Mystic Rush, but Dark Omen calls an instant retreat off of it. Stormcallers with a dash, 2-man taunt finds Reaper and Binsen. Voulg goes forward, Cosmic follows. World Serpent is forced, and Binsen has to retreat as well. Stormcallers still plenty healthy. They still have a half-health Titan. If they want to really make a play happen at this tier 2, they could do it. But without their junglers here, this is going to be tough. Binsen tries to make it happen with River's Rebuke and try to stall him out, but he gets dropped by CosmicVibez and hits the gray scale. And Stormcallers, not the cleanest, but they ultimately do get that tier 2 tower and make good use of their Titan.
Call me crazy. I know they've liked this split push a lot this game, but you think if the Bakasura is there, that Regurgitate is a huge field. It does a lot of damage, can maybe be the finishing blow, but they might not need it. They pick up 2. Rama Force into the sky is gonna die when they drop back down, and StepDentist able to avoid the snipes. Dark Omen get 3 out of nowhere.
An absolute erase created by the StepDentist. A double kill CosmicVibez, the last alive in that little quarter section. That was a disaster for Stormcallers because now gold leads matter. We talked about that. We said it was gradually building. It was a slow burn. We're getting close to 30 minutes when the gold leads stop mattering, except for buying a couple potions. Not too far out from that. Stormcallers, Dark Omen tied 7-7. KingFsher, I didn't see this one coming, and if I'm Stormcallers, I'm not panicking, but I mean, you lost game 1. Things were looking so good, and now Dark Omen's already clawing their way back. They're already at the Fire Giant right now.
They're doing the smart thing. I think even if Merlin manages to seal this away, you're going to be missing it from a few members. Reaper zones him off, and the first objective for the game for Dark Omen is going to fall. It's going to be the Fire Giant. Jormungandr now dropping low, escapes to safety. We mentioned it earlier in the game around the tier 2 on that left-hand side, but now we finally see it. A team overstepped.
And it cost them greatly. I mean, this game, we just hit the reset button. The only thing that isn't reset is the towers, and towers die so fast in this current meta. Does that even matter too much with the tier 2 towers? I mean, the one in mid is already basically dead anyway. Stormcallers has to make some kind of clean play to get the momentum back in their favor, because if there was, we talked about the Cosmic Vibe meter, if there was a momentum meter, it is completely swung the side of red and purple. Dark Omen is just, I'm impressed, and a lot of it comes from the ADC rollout. We talked about the ability of ThockManJones to consistently stay in, even if behind. Last game was with 4 deaths. This game with 2 kills. The split push in that dual lane caused enough chaos for Stormcallers. I think that's where a lot of the chaos has come from.
I think it has been, and if you're Stormcallers, you're still in the game. Make no mistakes about it. That was maybe a little bit of an overextension, maybe a little of a lapse in judgment. You're not out of the game. You're certainly not behind. It's drawn, even if anything. Pyro now going to fall 4. Dark Omen should be uncontested, but Stormcallers have been looking good in teamfights this game. They might need to have one. Dark Omen do still have that Fire Giant. They're starting to push up in mid. I don't know if I love this from them. I like the confidence, but they're going to have to make sure they don't make a misstep here. We've seen Stormcallers with the lead. They can already do a lot.
The Rama ultimate is down for the next fight. He tried to use the Steelway Pyro. Almost everybody's got almost every relic up. So this fight is the make or break. And Voulg tried to get sneaky in the back, could find anything. Same for Royalty, did find some poke on the Pwuntahs. Voulg now still a bit deep as Stormcallers is calling the retreat. So we're going to see that Robin back up, and Dark Omen going to knock on the door of the Phoenix.
They might be looking to get onto it now. Don't have minions for about another 15 seconds. Once again, Royal splitting off. They see him in right. The minions have spotted him out. If I'm Stormcallers, this is the go button, and there it is.
Go, 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 die, die, die. If you are Binsen, goodbye, Yamoja. Voulg gets the credit, and Stormcallers taking advantage of the misplay from Dark Omen and going even more aggressive than we thought. StepDentist in trouble. TMJ in trouble. Taunts coming out. Double kill coming out for Voulg. ThockManJones so slowed down, anything could drop him. CosmicVibez gets the credit, and Stormcallers are doing just that, marching through. The thunder's cracking, and no one is home for Dark Omen. The retreat is no longer mattering. Nothing matters. Stormcallers just... The whole game was a slow burn. Dark Omen turns it quickly, makes one play, and Stormcallers takes it back. How? Fisher, explain. Help me.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you have Fire Giant. If it's 33 minutes into that game and you put yourselves in a 4v5 situation, you're not going to win it. Stormcallers took advantage, but there are 2 alive for this Titan defense. It's not probable, but it's possible.
15 seconds, 10 for StepDentist. They've got a hold. They're doing okay so far. Titan's down to half health. Look at Spencebar. He's low. Pwuntahs uses Fear No Evil, trying to buy some time. Is it enough time? Yes, it is. The Titan's going to fall. Stormcallers make it a set. We're going to a game 3.
I gotta say again, those animations are just on point. I'm happy we get to see both of them in this best of 3. Or best of 3? Best 2 out of 3. I figured it out. But it's exciting to get a real competitive match going for a season opener. If this is what it's going to look like for the rest of the season, I gotta say I'm very excited, and it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, Stormcallers this time getting the grasp on the lead like they did in game 1, except this time maintaining that control of the game and being able to transition that into late game. And I mean, they did lose that one team fight up by the Fire Giants, but to me, them coming back and winning the next team fight at their own bird and just annihilating Dark Omen just told me that it's a fluke and they were in control the whole time. They lost that team fight to make the game look interesting. And so they really managed to just destroy to win the rest of the game afterwards. A fantastic look for the boys in blue that game. And I have to say that again, kind of like what Anthony was saying, the cosmic vibe meter, must have felt off the charts after that one.
I gotta say, they nailed it. They nailed it. They just basically nailed it. We were talking about this grouping up and making the best out of what your teammates use and just going with them. So someone has to follow up on something else. And that's exactly what Stormcallers did, is they made sure that they used all their abilities together in tandem at good opportunities leading up, stacking. It was just a perfect storm for the Stormcallers. And they managed to do it really well. They learned from the first one. And that's the important thing, especially if you're going to take a first game loss, you got to learn what you did wrong. And they learned, they figured it out, and they're like, all right, we have to start acting as a team. We have to combine everything. We do decent individually, but we do best when you're a team. And they nailed it. The whole time they were just moving right forward. But Dark Omen really was not giving up at any point. They got the Fire Giant, they were zoning it off, and they were doing everything they possibly could to try to get this game back. But like last game where they needed Stormcallers to really mess up, Stormcallers really didn't. They had that one bad siege with the Titans where they just stayed a little bit too longer, but it wasn't anything that Dark Omen could really capitalize on. And Stormcallers just did an amazing job just not giving them the opportunity to come back.
Yeah, the TPs coming out from onto left bird that game. I saw like 2 or 3 come out over there on that left bird to stop somebody that was split pushing between either the Baka or the Ishtar. And so being able to just mitigate any potential to crawl back into the game by getting one of those birds and getting a lot of pressure on the opposite side of the map was really greatly controlled thanks to that TP coming out from Voulg. And I mean, in game one, it seemed like you had mentioned that the Wukong pick kind of got to thrive in a lot of those team fights. And in game number two, I mean, the slash lines show that Yorm was 2-0-3, but I never felt that Yorm got off the ground this game. I feel like the amount of pressure that they managed to put on him, and just, I mean, they forced a lot of World Serpents defensively as opposed to offensively. I mean, he had Tablet of Destiny's first item, and he never even got it fully stacked in that game. And if that says anything about a Yorm whose whole kit does damage, and so it should be really easy to be stacking Tablet of Destinies, it just felt like that solo lane was just not able to get off like you and really control the game like he managed to in game number one, as he would have liked to have in game number two.
The Sun Wukong in game number one definitely caused chaos, as Sun Wukong is meant to do. You felt his presence with every team fight. He was always a problem. You had to deal with him. He was chasing you. Where is he? It's the decoy, you know? He was zoning. He was doing all this stuff. We saw him zoning this game, but it felt like game one of the Sun Wukong. He had more of a presence despite going deathless in game two. Not to say they didn't do a good job, because they had major points in which they really popped out, but it just didn't feel like this Yorm appeared in the game to make a statement like the Sun Wukong did. So going forward, I would like to see either a bit different build coming out of that Yorm to try to, or at least try to get the tablet something a little bit different to get more aggressive and be bigger presence in those team fights, or maybe pick a god, again, Sun Wukong, or someone else who can be that presence, because Soul Lane is all about presence. You're the big guy, the one that can't die, the one that causes the chaos. You're making everyone panic, you know, where you got to make the whole team fights go from targets to you're the only target to then having your team take advantage of the chaos that you're not creating. So I think that's going to be a big thing coming out for Dark Omen in game three.
Yeah, no, definitely something you had mentioned, though. If they elect to pick that Yorm again, I would also like to see a build differential. I mean, Chronos Pendant, in my opinion, is just the best item to throw on Yorm as first item slot instead of a Tablet of Destinies. Tablet of Destinies, granted, you don't need Tablet of Destinies to be fully stacked in a game to get some good value out of it. But, I mean, Chronos Pendant, having your abilities off cooldown, still getting a little bit less power than Tablet of Destinies, but, I mean, around the same ballpark as it, nonetheless. And still, but you don't have your abilities off cooldown a lot more, including your ultimate, so you'll be able to World Serpent a lot more often. And so, I mean, maybe if you do elect to pick it, definitely look to swap up the builds a little bit and to better help your team and better help yourself when it comes to the laning phase. And it looks like bans are already underway. We've got a Raven Kali ban, pretty standard stuff coming out from Dark Omen. They said, hey, Voulg, you looked a little too good on that Raven that game. You were pretty comfortable. You were using those Mystic Rushes a little bit too frequently and loosey-goosey all over the place. So you were having too much fun. We're going to take that pick away from you.
He was absolutely instrumental in all those team fights. It was the same energy as the tier, but he had the follow-up this time. And it just felt like he could do more as Ravana as well. And we can see why Ravana is such a threat with his whole bruiser meta. Coming out for the rest of the bans, Baba Yaga, which is a very important one coming from Stormcallers, dealing with a lot of problems game one. And we got a Marty coming out for Dark Omen, respecting CosmicVibez on that Martikaris. That ultimate, I would personally say, I feel like it's on too low of a cooldown, because the whole point of Marty, you're supposed to exploit him for his inability to get away, but it feels like that ultimate is just too quick. It comes back too quick, so it's always scary. But now we got Jormungandr coming out. Let's see if Reaper can learn from the issues of game one, or if they didn't really think they had too much problems.
I mean, again, 2-0-3, you definitely felt like you weren't necessarily a problem on the Orm, but I mean, again, I wouldn't say he was a problem by any means, because again, he looked great that game. I mean, he was getting a lot of damage off in these team fights. It's just he wasn't able to do as much, and so maybe that's something that he will be able to levy here in game number 3 and be able to actually capitalize on. And it looks like CosmicVibez locking in that Merlin first pick again. Once again, just somebody able to shred down somebody like a Yorm really effectively, and so you can just go ahead and lock that in. He was definitely feeling himself, feed the hot hand, give it back to him again. And the Athena lock in as well for Spence.
And this, again, all my points from game two are right here. the whole ability to just displace him. We saw that too in the game where Yorm was chasing after somebody. Reaper's looking to get a kill, but Spence sat there and go, nope, turn around, follow me. And his teammate was able to get out, and Spence just walked away. It's displacement that gets Yorm out of your face. And I just think that's big point. One thing that sucks, again, you're not going to have your block stacks, but I feel the advantage of displacing the Yorm in some type of way, making him spin around 180 degrees to stop doing what he's doing to your teammates is just a lot more valuable than 3 block stacks. And then we see a Nox coming out, but this time for Dark Omen. I'm curious if they're going to put that in mid, but most likely I believe it's going to be in support this game.
Yeah, and the ROM lock-in this time for Dark Omen. TMJ looking to mix it up a little bit. Had some decent success in game number 1 on the Ishtar. Not as much in game number 2, but again, I think that's just because of the control that Stormcallers had over the game. The Ishtar wasn't able to get off to a good footing at any point during the game. And a ban that came through last game from Dark Omen is now getting locked in for Stormcallers. We've got Achilles locked in, more than likely going over there into the solo lane. Achilles has, again, like I'd mentioned in game number 2, has a pretty good matchup when it comes to the Yorm mid-laning phase, able to juke out his abilities pretty effectively with the double dashes and execute on top of that. I mean, if you stun out a Yorm and the World Serpent's got a long wind-up time and you've got a taunt on top of that as well that can really CC him and lock him in place for long periods of time. And so you can really get that execute with a lot of value just on the Yorm pick alone. That's not even counting the other 4 gods that are going to be locked in for Dark Omen.
And when it comes with this too, it's Yorm's huge. He got a giant hitbox, right? And anyone will tell you that last 500 health, 100 health is always the most health to go through. Some people always manage to get by in just that little bit. Same thing with Cthulhu when he's ulting. But when you're that big, you're a huge target. So this Yorm, if it was having a problem with dealing with Ravana, I'm very curious to see how this Achilles is going to give it a run for his money. I don't know if the Yorm's going to be able to dominate as much as he might want to this game, and he might have to play a little bit more passive. But coming out with the final bans, I think it was a great idea to get the monkey out of there because that last game, his ults were huge, and like I said, it's a big presence. And again, another ability to displace Yorm in a way that actually works around his passive. So I think that was a very smart ban from Dark Omen.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, kind of going back to what I said in game number 2, I mean, I'm seeing 7 assassin bans. I'm not spreading any propaganda, any misinformation about the meta, but I mean, I think that speaks for itself when it comes to this. Or maybe that's just how prominent and important both of these jungles have been for both of these teams. And so you got to respect the opponent's jungle just as much as you got to respect your own. A Susano lock-in for Dark Omen. Susano's a fantastic pick. I love the pick right here. Has a great matchup into Merlin, being able to really just blow him up at any point in the game. And I mean, Merlin has a lot of potential for shredding back as well, but when you've got Agni bombs raining down on top of you too, I don't think you want to be anywhere near a Susano Agni in the early game.
The placement of those Agni bombs is going to be their biggest problem because if you can land those big AoE stuns, then I think you're golden. But if you're not getting the damage on top of the stuns, then it's almost as if you're kind of leaving damage out on the table. And I just think that's the big issue. But now we got Bakasura coming out for the Stormcallers instead of Dark Omen. And I'm excited to see what they do with this because we saw that Dark Omen had a problem with Bakasura really trying to come up into his own. And we saw the Hunbats really take advantage of that and was up in levels. And when Bakasura is behind, Bakasura does not feel good, especially when you're sitting there biting at whoever you can. But you just don't see those numbers popping up. And your CC immunity drops, and all of a sudden you're looking, everyone's staring at you, and your minions are turning the other way, and you're just sitting there looking down 5 as 1, and you ain't doing nothing.
I like the Baka pick here, but I would have liked something with a little bit more CC potentially. I mean, between an Achilles and an Athena, it's kind of a little bit lackluster when it comes to the CC and lockdown of being able to have this Ishtar and Merlin really be able to shred when it comes to these team fights. But I mean, Bak is still a very strong jungle pick, so I'm still not entirely against the Baka pick. And so it'd be very interesting to see where he ends up deciding where to levy that, again, Baka early eat minion, early pressure that he allows, that pick is allowed to get across the map thanks to that ability and him being able to just absolutely devour jungle camps in the early game.
All right, well, game 3 of our Immortal season opener. Gonna send you to it, and Anthony and KingFsher are gonna greet you there. Have fun, and we'll see you later.
Our first cast together of the season, Fisher, and we're going to 3 games. Dark Omen versus Stormcallers. Immortal Division doesn't get any better than a game 3. Let's do it, Fisher.
Wouldn't really be a season opener if it didn't go to all 3 games. Gotta have at least a little bit of excitement in there. And switching up team comps a little bit. Stormcallers now, I think Suun mentioned it, taking away the Bakasura, taking away the Ishar as well from ThockManJones, who's been having a really strong set so far. I think probably a wise call on that. I don't know how well the Bakasura are going to fit into this team comp, but hopefully they do have a lot of burn characters, just like last game. Some big Athena taunts can absolutely spell the difference in some HP bars.
Yeah, there was a lot of hyper-aggression from Spence that didn't go well, but the taunts were pretty consistently awesome. And with TMJ, I'm a big TMJ fan. I got all the stock in that department, and I expect the Rama to be pretty good. So it's going to be tough for Stormcallers to even control that lane no matter what they kind of control TMJ picking up. Royalty, bit poked up in mid, but ends up getting away. Spence Spark, same problem in duo, same escape in duo. Fisher, if you had to find a lane, each game it's been a different story. Game 1, a lot of pressure duo. Game 2, mid was a story. Where are we going to see the action in this game?
I feel like not necessarily a lane. I'm going to go with a role, though. I think the junglers are going to play a massive role in this one because just looking at the side lanes, Achilles versus Jormungandr I expect to be an extremely boring lane, as well as having a Thockman on a pick that's not as aggressive. We're used to seeing the Ishar, something like an Anhur, a Cernanos. You can't do all those things on a Rama, but you might be able to if Nox hits a CC, Printer's dropping low, dropping even lower, turns around though, gets a Devour.
Dash forward from Thockman was stunned out, and that stun was the difference between the kill or no kill. Voulg fighting with Reaper in between Royalty. StepDentist on the left, found Spence Spark on the right. Voulg got away. Turns into a first blood for Dark Omen. Nothing for Stormcallers out of it. A chaotic start, but Dark Omen will take it nonetheless.
I'd like to point out that one jungler was over there, so technically jungler getting involved for... Oh wait, no, were they not over there? They were not over there. I was dead wrong.
Get it together, Fisher.
I'm
You're
sorry.
supposed to be the smart one.
I can say that's my worst prediction of the season with 100% confidence.
True. Yeah, you can only go
Hopefully it
up
stays
from
that
here.
way.
You set the bars so low.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, you're like, I'm pretty sure that the Rama's gonna max his first ability.
I mean, I always max out Rama. The attack speed can only get you so far.
That wasn't okay. It wasn't literal, but we'll move past.
Can only take things.
So happy the
literally.
season's back.
It feels so good, right, to get back in the swing of things. Now there's Jormungandr here, lurking on right. Same with Susano. I'm thinking we haven't seen a ton of his blue buff invades, but it might be the purple buff. Mario Bro, again, taking a lot of damage here on the left side of the map. Kind of a non-starter, though, for Dark Omen, not quite able to find that killing blow.
Not quite. It was close, and they're still pushed up, and the Siphon hits on Spence. So some poke will come out, but still not enough to go crazy. We've seen TMJ dash on some crazy scenarios, but I'm pretty sure dashing under tower level 4 is not in the cards for this one. In game 1, I presented to you the idea of synergy versus chemistry, that Stormcallers had inherent chemistry and Dark Omen had to build synergy. By game 3, I feel like the synergy department is definitely Dark Omen, and the chemistry showed in game 2. With this game, and I'll have your answer in a second, as Spence Spark did push up onto ThockManJones, big getaway. My question to you, what in this game are we looking at? Do you think the synergy's there? Can we find more? Do you think that chemistry can pull through? Or is there something else?
I think the way that this game 3 goes is going to be entirely dependent on Dark Omen and how they bounce back from a loss, which is something I think is normally discussed in things like best of 5 games, where there's time, to come back, readjust. This is the first loss of the season. I mean, it's week 1, it had to come sometime, but it's always something to see how the team responds to that, Like, because some players, they don't handle being behind too well. Hopefully that's not the case for anyone on Dark Omen. Although Stormcallers, I'd argue they have the advantage going into this match 3. It's going to be entirely up to Dark Omen and how they're going to respond from being pushed back in that game too.
Yeah, that's a good call. I agree with that, certainly. I also feel like it'll be... the other side of that is, can you ride that momentum from a win, right? Can you I talked about it with Dark Omen. Can you recapture that energy, that be punny, that vibe? That'll be the big questions that we need to get answered going forward. StepDentist trying to catch out Spent Spark, who's only level 4, but tanky enough to survive. StepDentist, same cannot be said, as the Regurgitate cleans up the Agni. Just got a bit aggressive in the mid lane. 1-for-1 now between Dark Omen and Stormcallers. Royalty pulls in Mario Bro. Typhoon follows. The blades come out in response, and Mario Bro poked out, but not in too much trouble. Snipes never even used from TMJ because Mario wasn't low enough. So well played from the Ishtar to not get dropped to a certain threshold that probably could have spelled the end.
Good job from Mario in the side lane, and in the mid, you never want to die early. If you're a mid laner, the lane can just spiral out of control. The StepDentist, hopefully the same won't happen to them, but you got to be careful. Stormcallers had wards on both sides of the lane. They knew that StepDentist didn't have any help incoming. Not an easy gank, but kind of a simple one there from Printers. Good job, and now the Bakasura a level ahead, which anyone who has ever played Smite can tell you, that's scary. That's not good. You don't want the Bakasura ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's not for me. It's one of the reasons I avoid that lane. I just like to be on an island in duo, no brain, just left clicking. Voulg trying to get anything out of this engagement, just a survival would be nice, and does get it for now. Nobody to sneak behind him this time. Looks like Royalty thought about it, but gonna run into Printers instead and then back up. Actually, Reaper dove onto Voulg, but he was able to avoid it. So a lot of aggression onto the poor Achilles, who just couldn't catch a fair break there.
But I'm surprised the Jormungandr didn't choose to ult right back down onto them. Might have had a chance for a kill, but instead same can be said in mid lane. Bakasura still in the jungle though, not gonna go for a gank. Yeah, I really thought Reaper was gonna dive back into the tower. Achilles was low enough, but you know, we've said it probably 100 times on here. It's better safe than sorry. You don't want to give any extra advantage over to the enemy solo laner. Now fight starts over Harpies. Both junglers kind of close, but I don't believe this will transform into anything more.
Well, we have even a half a second. I want to point out that Royalty did go blink early on this Susano, so very susceptible to Athena taunts. So keep your eye on that as we get later. Mario Bro up halfway. ThockMan with a dash in. Royalty going to be waiting for Mario Bro Typhoon, but no pull-in. Might not have been available. Now the pull-in comes out, but it was too little too late. So another failed gank onto Mario Bro. Printers with a response gank looking for ThockManJones. Forced into the sky as Binsen on the way over. Royalty coming back. Regurgitate waiting for ThockManJones, but the nice response from Binsen in the shell should get ThockMan out of there. Matter of fact, Printers got him more trouble, so fantastic rotation from the support. Perfectly timed to save the ADC.
You've talked about synergy, talk about trust there from TMJ, knowing his team would rotate in time, but might need another rotation. Printers gets one onto Royalty. ThockManJones has to roll away. And Dark Omen stick around a little bit too long. Good job on Printers getting that re-engage. Stormcallers now, they're still looking for it.
A jump forward from Printers caught by the Shadow Lock, so could not go further onto ThockManJones. Spent Spark with the dash charged up, it won't go in, and look who's rotating over. It's StepDentist, gonna look for Printers, get some damage with the Rain Fire. In a good spot to do even more to Spence. Dashes forward, still looking forward. Binsen on the way to try to help secure things, and the Shadow Lock should spell the end. The last Rain Fire hits, and Spence will be in the grave. I want to go back to that shield buff, Fisher, because, you know, we noticed one thing together last game, which was there were a few odd choices positioning-wise from Royalty, and I gotta say, respectfully, I kind of saw the same thing there. Going back to that shield buff so low could not have been the safest maneuver.
Probably not. Maybe thinking that the Bakasura stepped away or something, because in all fairness, Printers was fairly low coming out of that gank.
Fair.
They have wards over there on the left side. I don't know if maybe they just didn't catch them in time. Gotta assume that's what it would be. But luckily, it's still early in the game. It shouldn't be too bad. But now, Bakasura does have a level and a half lead. We talked about it when it was just half a level lead. You don't want it to spiral. In this set, Pwuntahs has proved to, I think, be a more aggressive jungler, but getting involved in more ganks, that's a dangerous combo when somebody's ahead.
Can't really get much more dangerous. World Serpent was forced from Reaper, and now Pwuntahs continuing the danger and looking for Reaper, and Fatal Strike has an easy target when it's that sized. Reaper will hit the grayscale thanks to the Fatal Strike. Left side of the map, more trouble continuing for Stormcallers. But again, they seem to have this left side locked down. Typhoon trying to change things up. Defender for Olympus towards Mario Bro, and again, there it is. There's the escape. It just feels like Stormcallers has not had a good clean gank on duo so far this game. But regardless, the Gold Fury is opened up after that gank, and I don't see a way for Stormcallers to contest, so it'll be a free Gold Fury for Dark Omen.
Do you know how nice that feels, seeing a Gold Fury drop before the beacon's been up for 30 seconds? Seen it like maybe once throughout the preseason, but we see it again. Dark Omen make a good call, and even though the gank didn't go successful, I like them having the game IQ to know, okay, they're going to be backed off, mid's not going to be expecting anything. Let's pull the Gold Fury, see what happens. Make a good play call, and now they're going to even that gold lead right back up. Stormcallers had a... I mean, granted, it was about even, but it felt like through all the kills, Stormcallers kind of had the edge there for a minute.
Yeah, I need a vibe meter, man. I need the Cosmic Vibe meter. Get me the Cosmic Vibe meter. Get me Alec in suit. I need the whole 9 yards because I gotta track it. Pwuntahs trying to ruin the vibes of Royalty unless, but Royalty gets away. But with Spence also rotating, this could be a bit of a trap here. Spence going around the side, ThockMan alone, but won't turn into more. There's always a risk with Pwuntahs, it feels like, right? It just kind of feels like Pwuntahs could dive underneath at any given moment, but ultimately choosing to walk away.
It doesn't have to blink yet, so I'm sure that that threat from Pwuntahs just coming in out of nowhere will be a lot more kind of concrete once that blink is online. Is level 12, so I assume next time they'll get it. Probably don't want to hang on to the wing shard too much. It's a really fun relic, but you know, nothing makes up for the ability to just teleport into a backline and cause some chaos.
Yeah, that's true. Can't really beat that. If only I had that ability in real life. There's a lot of times I'd like to just do that and skip in line, get my burrito faster. We were talking about burritos earlier, still in the mind. Anyway, 12 minutes and the beacon is up next, and the fight's gonna break out quicker than I think anyone was anticipating. Benson gonna get inside of Reaper for the escape. Mario Bro in trouble in the back line as well, but Royalty stepped up way too far and gets punished for it thanks to the regurgitating friends. Pwuntahs getting away for now. Snipes were not able to secure him, but the Jormungandr is going to try his best, and he'll find it. Circles and Smite, am I right? Reaper will find the kill against Pwuntahs, and the beacon still up. Dark Omen currently have the advantage, and we saw this in game 1. These beacon fights are weird, and they're not done yet, but Voulg around the back line finds Benson, just completely caught off guard, and gets the knocks out of there. Now the pit belongs to Dark Omen still, but Stormcaller is looking good, but Reaper is still wreaking havoc. Finds Mario Bro now. This Jormungandr is going way too unchecked, and it's not working out for Stormcallers. This will lead to a beacon for Dark Omen that Stormcallers did not need to give up.
They didn't. They had such a good entrance to that fight too, but the Jormungandr finally finding its footing after game number 1. 2 really, really strong kills there. Physical defense early as well gonna help with that. It did stray away from that start, as we heard our casters talking about on the desk there. Might be a good contributing reason. Reaper there goes massive in the mid lane. Dark Omen getting the first beacon. It's always important, and once again, we've talked about vibes the whole game. It just kind of starts a little momentum drift. They got the Gold Fury, they got the kills, they got the beacon. This game looks eerily similar to the one in game 1.
Yeah, and game 2 kind of now feels like a fever dream in comparison. While we were both enjoying it, Pyromancer being pulled on the right side from Stormcallers, and there will be no easy answer from Dark Omen. It could be Reaper, but he's got to get there. But the Pyro we dropped before he could respond. Same with StepDentist. But StepDentist finds Spence. Spence gets knocked up and perfectly lined up for the Flame Wave gone. That's a 3rd kill for the Agni in mid, which that feels nice for Dark Omen.
Fortunately for them though, Agni's still down in levels just by 1 to the Merlin, who despite only 2 assists has, I guess, just been out farming. StepDentist, although to be fair, the Agni has rotated out of the mid lane a few times to try to pick up kills. It's can't really hit on that too much, but now a 3-level deficit in support. To be fair, Athena's scary no matter what level she is, but that's not good. That's not where you want that to be, especially against a Nox. Now Oni Fury gonna get started once again though. Stormcaller's gonna be a little bit late to the party.
This time they have a better chance. Sprinter is certainly the main chance. There's the blink forward and the regurgitate follows. Binsen's going to be in trouble. Binsen's going to be gone. Typhoon does find a big knockup onto Printers to deal with the Bakasura problem, and the snipes are good from TMJ. He finds Printers, but Fatal Strike wasn't even needed because CosmicVibez cleaned up Royalty, and what seemed like a good Gold Fury for Dark Omen will be taken away. Oh, JK! StepDentist from over the wall with the rain fire gets it back and eliminates any bad feelings from that Oni Fury.
I was gonna question the choice a little bit to go onto that, but you know, they get it in the end. And they are up in this game. They do have some XP advantages. Still, that's a risky fight to be taking. It does pay off well for them. They're catapulted to well over 3,500 gold lead now, which is always good. But that's got to be a scary feeling, trying to contest something into a Regurgitate, into the Merlin damage, a big Athena taunt. It's no easy feat to do. Dark Omen, I think, should probably consider themselves lucky. They still came away with that, with a kill in an Oni Fury.
Hey, at the end of the day, it all works out, I guess. It feels bad. I mean, you know, the further and further and further we get, the more evenly matched these two teams look, and I'm just happy this is the opening set. We're showing what Immortal has right from the get-go, and there have been times where it feels like godlike. There have been times where it could even tap on the door of like an SCC competition in Game 2. A lot of times where it could feel a bit like the chaos is divine, but that's what makes Immortal fun. In 16 minutes, 6-7 KingFsher, and we're tapping on the door of the Tier 1 tower. Dark Omen got some momentum, but Royalty may have pushed up too far, and he did. CosmicVibez makes the Sasano pay. They do get a Tier 1, but they lose their jungler in the process.
Don't know if that's an incredible trade, but, you know, they're still ahead. It certainly can't be a bad one. In Tier 1 tower, they always feel good, even if you have to sacrifice one member. Tier 2s, though, they'll feel good to lose. Now with Pwuntahs on the right side of this map, does a pretty good amount of damage. Agni, though, gonna force him off just as quick.
All right, KingFsher. Let's try to assess where we're at and look at where we're going. If you are Dark Omen, we talked about getting that momentum back. They definitely found it, but they're making some small mistakes still. What can you do? What are you saying in comms to tighten things up so that you can grab a hold of what's good this game and run with it? And then conversely, whenever we get to it, with your Stormcallers, how can you take advantage of these mistakes that Dark Omen seems to be consistently making?
I think I'll go from Stormcaller side first, because I think for me the breakdown is a little bit easier, because I think it's what got them behind in game number 2. If you're on the side of Dark Omen, it's the only thing that's really been lacking in this game. It's been the positioning. They've been making some really good rotates, but they've also been taking some kind of ill-advised fights, you know, things that they really shouldn't be stepping up to. And the same can be said for both sides, but looking at this team comp for Stormcallers, you know, they have an Achilles, they have an Athena, they have a Bakasura, they have a ton of picks that just punish you to no ends for stepping up a little bit too far, and for me that has to be the place where they shine. Might have a chance on this Pyromancer. Dark Omen again trying an objective when they're outnumbered.
It's down to a quarter, but Voulg goes in. Dark Omen gets the Pyromancer, but on the up and up on the back end, Printers gets one, and the other was not far behind it. Now Dark Omen has to just retreat, and they don't have TMJ, who is split pushing in dual lane. So Stormcallers, they're making it happen, and this might be one of the easiest beacons we've seen in this set, but I don't think they want a beacon. They're actually heading over to Fire Giant in response to the split push and the backup in mid lane. There's no way, right?
I don't know if I love this call. The Firebomb does present a threat to steal, but if you get the fire, I don't know how much there is you can do with that buff. They're going to find StepDentist early, though. Agni might not be able to steal.
CosmicVibez joins in. They're going to let the Fire Giant go. TMJ still split pushing. Going to make it to the Phoenix potentially, but now second guessing. StepDentist still running around in circles. CosmicVibez will clean it up. Now Binsen could fall delayed with the Mez. No, Mez doesn't hit. Printers gets knocked back from Reaper, who's looking to clean up the Bakasura, and with the help of Royalty does just that. And look who's coming from the top side of the map. TMJ is rotating over, gonna run into the back line, who are gonna turn right and try to avoid it, but it's a knockoff on Mario Bro, which will spell the end, surely. But Spence cleans up Royalty first. A problematic call from Stormcallers, maybe just getting way too overzealous and trusting that TMJ would commit to the Phoenix. Just a lot of small things went wrong there. But it's going to turn to a beacon attempt from Dark Omen, and Stormcallers are still stepping up. No breathing yet for either side. Dark Omen will concede it, so Stormcallers will find themselves a beacon.
Definitely the smart play from Dark Omen. I was a little worried that they were going to kind of keep W King after I saw them there in the beacon, but they get out at the right time. They turn it into a 2-for-2, which honestly, it's not bad at all. Maybe you cede a little bit of ground on the map, but it shouldn't hurt too much. You lose a beacon. It's okay. They're still in it. They're still clinging on to a small lead. And while we have a moment of breathing room, because it's been chaotic, I know I talk about builds a fair amount. I don't think I've seen a Phalanx on a Bakasura. That's not really a combo I'm terribly familiar with.
EU cookery. That's what we're gonna call it. Is that acceptable?
Certainly a phrase. I mean, procs on the abilities, which Bakasura only really has one big damaging one. I'd have to see for Gearchief procs, because if so, then maybe it's a great item. Now Voulg trying to pick a fight with TMJ rather, over there in the left lane. That tells them they're on Gold Fury, and now they're gonna get what should be an uncontested Fire Giant. Athena, though, starting to creep over.
Pwuntahs is going to follow. Fire Giants at half. 21 minutes, and the Fire and the Gold are getting pulled respectively. Fire Giant will be contested by Spence and Pwuntahs. It's going to be at a quarter, but they're going to get there with plenty of time. Who's going to get the better of it? Pwuntahs with a blink forward finds Royalty with Regurgitate, but gets knocked out by Typhoon. Fire Giant still not dead. It's at 5. Pwuntahs has gone to StepDentist. Dark Omen get the Fire Giant. Somehow, from the grasp of death, I thought for sure that Pwuntahs had it clean with that Regurgitate, but just did not work out, and Dark Omen get the better of the situation.
Good job from Dark Omen, finding a way to secure that Fire Giant. You never like to lose a player for it, but honestly, jungle for jungle, as far as I'm concerned, that's a good trade. You'll take the buff for that, and I feel like I talked about this when they pulled it in 19 minutes, but for me, they have to do something with it. Both teams did a great job in game number 2, getting those towers across the map down early. Stormcallers, they haven't done that as much. They only have 2 tier 1s. If I'm Dark Omen, this is a great opportunity to get those tier 2 towers off the map. You don't have a runic bomb, but you have the damage, and this is where you can really start to put the pressure on this Chaos team.
It's a good time to do it. Dark Omen at 22 minutes will step up to the tier 2 tower, and they may have found a Spence Spark to go alongside of it, and they will. Spence is going to get dropped for a killing spree for ThockManJones. 10-13, it's creeping up, it's getting chaotic, and Dark Omen is now at the mid-Phoenix. Stormcallers will look to defend. Voulg goes through looking for the back line, but gets stunned out with the Shadow Lock and can't quite find it. Reaper got poked out as well, but had World Serpent, gets away. Meantime, Mario Bros been split pushing in the dual lane and should be able to find a tier 2 tower out of the deal. Dark Omen gonna hard commit to this mid-Phoenix, but Pwuntahs with the Regurgitate will try to stop things in their tracks, but gets knocked up by Typhoon and pulled in and gets deleted by ThockManJones. Dark Omen again have the ability to reset. Tier 2 did get dropped in the meantime. Spends with the taunt, missed. Voulg goes forward. Now the taunt hits on StepDentist. Shell was enough to get the Agni away, which buys time, but Fisher, I don't know how long.
I don't know how much I love this Phoenix call. They might look to recommit. Reaper's back and has full HP, but they're going to lose StepDentist around the side. What probably should have been just 2 tier 2 towers is going to lead to a 1-for-1 trade, especially losing Fire Giant on your mid laner. That's got to hurt. They do get a tower, they do get a kill. I don't know if I love the play calling there from Dark Omen, but they have the health bars and they have enough time to go for another push.
And that's been the story of the game so far. With the more and more momentum. Just keep the train rolling. Dark Omen get the Pyro on the way out. Bomb's gonna go to Royalty. And Fisher, this is a back and forth set, to say the least. 24 minutes, 11-14. Dark Omen v Stormcallers, just a 2k gold lead at 24 minutes. It's not the end of the world. We're seeing players start to hit that level 20 mark, and I'm going to take one out of your book, Fisher. You only hit level 20 once. So if you're these teams, as you're coming up on level 20, where is this focus going to start to shift to? Because for Dark Omen, it's been aggression, and for Stormcallers, I almost think they're starting to rely too much on the mistakes of Dark Omen.
It always feels good to kind of commit on one team overstepping or one team making a wrong call, and we have seen those plays from Stormcallers. But the problem is, like you said, they're reactive. You want to be proactive in this game at times. If you're just responding to what the other team's doing, it's going to mean Dark Omen is able to draw this pace to kind of force a pace, and we've seen that. They're the ones taking the big objectives. They're the ones starting the big fights. And sure, while they haven't always worked out for them, if Stormcallers continue to let them do this, Dark Omen's just going to rule the game, because there's going to be nothing to stand in their way.
So basically, take advantage of what you know is going to happen. You know Dark Omen's going to play aggressive, so just respond to the aggression. Don't respond to something that they're not actually doing. Seems like a simple enough solution to the problems being presented, but will Stormcallers figure out the same equation? Equation is the big question here. Dark Omen step up to the Primal Fury, and Stormcallers looking to answer, and they're around it. Reaper's playing defense. It's down to 10. It's gonna go to the Stormcallers on the dash throw from Spence. Regurgitate follows and drops StepDentist. Voulg is getting poked out from Royalty and dropped thanks to the Typhoon. So it's gonna be a 4-on-4. Doesn't feel like it. Pwuntahs and Royalty going at it. Royalty will go for the escape. ThockManJones gets taunted in, uses the beads. Unfortunate use of beads there for TMJ, as the rest of Stormcallers was not near, but KingFsher, the big thing there is the steal from Spence Spark on the dash.
How about that for proactive play? They were able to get the Primal Fury. They get a kill in tow. And I was gonna mention before starting up this fight, there's been one real troublesome member, and we saw it on the Phoenix fight, I think more than most. StepDentist and the Agni Bombs have been absolutely on point, doing a ton of damage, highest in the game. Getting him off the board is huge for this team. Agni's still going to come back up by the time Titans respawn. Last beacon just now falling, but that's the kind of engages they need. You shut that Agni down, there's not a ton of easy damage on that team. Susano and Yorm have to dive very, very deep and kind of put themselves entirely out of position if they want to do anything. They're taking out the most important piece of the puzzle, and they're going to need to do it again near this Fire Giant or the Titan, I guess whichever one these teams get to first.
We've seen a lot of priority from these two teams on those Titans as they meet the last two games. It's clear they both want to make plays around it. It's just kind of been a matter of who gets there first, and whoever's getting there first is just taking the Titans, and the other team has no interest. The only time we saw it work, though, was we saw a Titan get to tier 2. So maybe they're going to look this time to turn it into more of a brawl, as opposed to just letting the Titans duke it out.
It's always a difficult call to make, because those Titans, they're a lot tankier than you think they'd be. It's a long burn, even with, like we see here, level 20 ADCs, level 20 junglers, level 20 mid laners. I think both these teams are in a good enough position, though, to where either of them can realistically step up to this and be fine. But is this going to be another positioning error? Royalty pushed very far up. Voulg wants to collapse. Rest of the team not close enough. We might see a split here. Dark Omen trending towards Titans, and Voulg is the target now.
Voulg's already poked below half health. The Titans are going to meet now. Pyro will get picked up by Stormcallers, taking advantage of the lapse in action. But that will probably cost them the Titan fight. But again, we've seen it. These two teams are really not that concerned about the Titan fights because the Titans aren't making it very far in this set. So if I'm Stormcallers, I take the bomb in pocket and I say thank you very much, and I head back, and look, they're getting the Titan now. Fire Giant actually getting pulled in the meantime, and they're burning it quick. It's already down to half health. Only Spence Spark has sniffed it out. He's in the pit to contest. Reaper on defense. Titans at 5. Regurgitate in response. Dark Omen get the Fire Giant. Reaper and Binsen both poked out. Same story for Pwuntahs. That's enough for Stormcallers to back away, but Dark Omen with one of the sneakiest Fire Giants you'll ever see.
I don't entirely know how Stormcallers didn't maybe sense that a bit earlier, and like we always say, it's very different from up here where we can see everything. But if they're not pushing with a full health Titan, in my mind, there's one place they're gonna be, and that's on the Fire Giant. They're going and pick it up for free, and they get out alive, which I thought Stormcallers were gonna punish them. Not quite the case, but now both Titans down. Dark Omen now kind of cementing their lead. It's still very close, but we talked about the vibe meter, and it's tilting just a little bit towards the Order side team.
Yep, put the vibe meter up. Get Alec on there. Get the tracking going. With 30 minutes around the corner, Dark Omen and Stormcallers are in a barn burner of a set, and it's been a fantastic way to open the Immortal season. So far, it feels like either team could get the better. It just realistically needs to be. This is a kill everybody win game situation. You can't get much more simple than that. That's the baseline explanation, right? Oni Fury will get dropped to Dark Omen. If waves are going to push out in KingFsher, 30 minutes, we have chaos on the horizon.
We do. The game's been so back and forth, and I think I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. The team that gets a first Phoenix is gonna win the game. You mentioned a few seconds ago it's a kind of a kill everyone and win situation. It absolutely is when it's this late in, when these players are this high level, they've got nearly all their builds done. But all the Phoenixes are still up. There's tier 2 towers. There's still so much to work through that even if they get a deicide here, it's going to be a tough call to end. We have to see one of these teams get more aggressive, start pushing out. It's been Dark Omen so far this game, but they've still looked a little non-committal here. Stormcallers, I think it's going to have to be a defense coming up here. Dark Omen are starting to trend towards that side of the map again. This could be a game decider here if one of these teams goes big enough.
Gearchief said it on the desk of Game 2. That ThockManJones did a lot to work with Spence Spark and CosmicVibez last season in Voulg. There's a lot of camaraderie there and a lot of teacher-apprentice. Can anyone find the answer? CosmicVibez gets the first kill of this fight, and everything's breaking down in the back as Voulg got into the back and caused some chaos. Enough for Dark Omen to retreat, but so far, just the one pick onto Reaper. Pwuntahs looking for more, goes forward onto ThockManJones, but gets erased by ThockManJones before we can find it. Rampage for the Rama, and it's a big one at that. Couldn't have come at a better time. Dark Omen get away with murder at the Phoenix, but don't get the Phoenix.
Stormcaller still trying to chase this one out. StepDentist seems to be the target, but the team's a little bit split. Now switching off, trying to chase Thockman, and eventually go back onto StepDentist. The Agni's in trouble, finds a dash out though, and that should spell the end for the Stormcallers. I don't know if I love the play call there from Dark Omen. This Yorm has been a difference maker all game. If you're going to go onto the Phoenix, you need a 5-man commit. Right now, commitment's onto CosmicVibez. Good time to Aegis, though. Completely neutralizes the Susanna.
Would have been a big pick, but ultimately does cost the relic of the Merlin, but not the beads, which is nice. You'll have that for the next fight, but that Aegis has been pulling through for CosmicVibez. No deaths so far in the Merlin. Can't be overlooked there. Stormcallers and Dark Omen, again, we said it, but now the proof is in the pudding. They're very evenly matched. I was just talking about the apprentice and the teacher thing, and right there they were matched blow for blow. Pwuntahs got kind of caught looking, going way too aggressive and no backup, and TMJ made them pay. But the same thing almost happened to CosmicVibez not even a minute later with Royalty finding him in the jungle. So it's going to be a matter of who makes that mistake. Looking for that prediction, KingFsher. Who gets the Phoenix? Who gets the deicide? It's going to be one big thing.
It is. It's so hard to call, too, because all game, it feels like kind of game one again. It's back and forth. Punch, counter punch. It's really been all game long. But I think the one thing going against both these teams, neither of them have had a really big successful team push. Could this be the one? Spence Spark dashing in, not going to find the Tom, but gets it onto the Orm.
Royalty's in the back line, but Royalty got caught out and caught in the regurgitate. Voulg found him, and now with Reaper diving deep, he's gonna have to come out at ultimate eventually. Mario Bro is stuck in between him. He gets dropped by Reaper. Pwuntahs jumps over the wall looking for Reaper and finds it. Snipes come out from TMJ, but they couldn't find Spence, and Dark Omen lose 2, only pick up 1, and Stormcallers and Dark Omen, the stalemate continues, KingFsher.
Wouldn't you know it, right back to pretty much dead. Even Voulg does try to come up to maybe contest the Pyro. Not going to happen, though. Probably the smart play. They have a little bit of wiggle room, right? I think the Jormungandr has been a massive space maker. Those 3 kills have all been pretty impactful. And now, for the next 30 seconds, Dark Omen is totally reliant on a Nox to do all their engage and all their peeling. If I'm Stormcallers, I would love to get aggressive there, and it seems like it might be the play there on the right side of the map. Pwuntahs is close, but the rest of them just farming. Again, some had to back because they were low HP. I would have loved to see Stormcallers kind of use that to maybe gain a little bit of ground back, because it's been probably close to 5 or 10 minutes before since they've stepped over the midpoint in this map.
34 minutes and 30 seconds, KingFsher. This has been a crazy one. Probably one of my favorite opening sets that you and I have been on together. And EFG will be the next target. Dark Omen and Stormcallers are just in lockstep at this point. Anything could break it. This EFG will be the big point of contest, and Royalty already stepping up, but that may have been a mistake. The taunt in found Royalty, but Regurgitate was dropped and didn't find the kill. So that's Bakasura's ultimate gone, and all it did was force Royalty to back. Well, Stormcallers use this as an opening.
Royalty lucky to be alive. The rest of his team is going to use it. Voulg has to dash away from the Jormungandr. Stormcallers do have a 5v4 for the moment. They're going to utilize a big taunt going on to StepDentist. Has to beads away.
A lot of small stuff getting burned consistently at this point for Dark Omen. Stormcallers needs to be keeping track of this, but they've used a lot of ultimates too. So it's a trade of relics versus ultimates, and still nothing has broken. Binsen with the dash in. Spence goes around and burns the beads of ThockManJones. Reaper and StepDentist both going to back up, both a bit poked out. Stormcaller still safe. Royalty has had time to come back, and Royalty's lurking around the side. Not sniffed out yet, and he's got Cosmic in his sights, but the Typhoon came out and Flicker was already used. Now Royalty's caught out, but Voulg is the one who found the poke. Same with Spence, and Stormcallers now are the ones who have to retreat.
Stormcallers do a good job staying alive, and a great Priel blink there from CosmicVibez, or Flicker, not blink. Now Fire Giant going to be started up. They still have a tower teleport. They still have Defender of Olympus. Stormcallers can be here quick, and here they come.
Printers goes in with a Regurgitate. He finds Royalty, looking for more, but StepDentist shuts him down, but not before a double kill. Voulg found ThockManJones, and things are breaking apart at the Fire Giant. It's at 5,000 health, and Voulg is still chasing out Binsen. Reaper can't find the opening, and the Fire Giant goes to Stormcallers, and they force the opening where there seemed to be none. Dark Omen just was not prepared for Printers. They may have been looking at Cosmic.
Bakasura does a lot of damage in this game from ahead, and you see it there more than most. 30 seconds now. They might go for the end call, and if so, I love it.
There's the Phoenix. Your prediction was a Phoenix equals the game, and Stormcallers is standing outside the throne room. Reaper's cut off from Binsen. 20 seconds for reinforcements, and Stormcallers is stepping into the throne room. They're on the Titan. Reaper on the way back already. Binsen at half. Binsen gets taunted in, and the damage is good so far. Mario Bros the lowest one. Reaper trying to clean up the ADC, but he gets cleaned up instead. Voulg will drop to the Titan, and Reaper gets credit. It's at a quarter. Mario's low. Just Binsen. And we finds Mario, but it's too little too late! Stormcallers take the first Immortal set!
Gotta say it one last time. Those animations are amazing. What one? I'm at loss of words. That game was such a back and forth fight for both teams. At no point did you think one team was going to win over the other. This team may have had a lead, but this team can come back. And I just have emotions. It's all I can explain right now. It's just emotions. I don't have much to analyze right now. Emotions. I'm just fired up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely a really exciting set to see for the first set of the Immortal Division. I mean, a lot of back and forth between these two teams. And if all of the teams are going to be looking like this in the Immortal set, I am so excited to be seeing all of the teams in this division. I mean, they look phenomenal. Nice job scooting out of the way a little bit. I did a little bit too, but
I saw someone made a content. So there you go. There's your wards. There's your player healing. Agni did 0. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, but I mean, again, these players just... I mean, this is week 1, right? You can only go up from here for both of these teams, and just an amazing back and forth set between the two of them. Really great pressure from Dark Omen, and it looks like they tried taking a little bit of a 50-50 on that Fire Giant, and that 50-50 coin flip just didn't go in their favor, and they lost the game off of it. Really kind of unfortunate from the position that they were at for a lot of that third game. But I mean, if you're Stormcallers, you are pretty happy about being able to take that last team fight and being able to end the game off that.
One thing playing with Spence, Spark, and Voulg is we always did a lot of bend, not break. And game 2, game 3, you really saw that. They just hunkered down and took advantage of what they could. But now we're actually going to do something that's a little different for our season. We're going to get into the comms of Stormcallers with our caster, Jeffrey, on an interview with CosmicVibez. Let's see.
And we're here with the captain of the first winners from the Immortal division, the captain of Stormcallers, CosmicVibez. Hello, Cosmic.
Hello, hello, hello.
So, I wanted to ask you a few questions after that win, Cosmic. So, first of all, congrats on kicking off the league with a win. It must feel very nice, right?
Oh, it feels very good. Feels very good.
So, tell me a bit about how you're feeling right now.
I mean, we feel great. I mean, Dark Omen is a solid team. You know, we got my boy ThockMan on the other team. So this one was a little bit more personal, but you know, they're a solid team. We're really feeling great that we beat them week 1.
I mean, you sure must be. It's a very good team indeed. Nothing to take away from them. And that being said, because you guys did lose game 1 and then just went on to reverse sweep them. So pretty impressive on that. I do wonder, how did you guys keep your mental after that first game? Is there anyone in particular who like really kept you guys together, or are you just a very chill team?
You know, I mean, you know, as of right now, I think, you know, game 1, we just went, hey, you know, we know the mistakes we made. We're obviously a lot better than this. Let's improve them on game 2 and, you know, make some different draft choices and move on. And, you know, you saw what happened.
I did see indeed. As you know, these games, were pretty close to each other, like all 3 of them, but especially this 3rd game. Like, was there a specific moment where you thought, we got them, we got this set? Or was it stressing until the Titan fell down?
I mean, it was close. I mean, you saw in the game we were down, you know, maybe 3-4K gold, you know, right up until that last firefight. But, you know, I think we were just kind of discussing how we wanted to play our team fight in this last fight. And, you know, Printer's got a great, you know, just jump right into the Baka. Spence ulted him on the Athena to keep him alive. And you know, and at the same time, you know, Voulg came around with the like great stun on Achilles. And as soon as that just happened, you know, we wiped him. We went, all right, we got to end here. I mean, you saw it was super close at the end. We were biting our fingernails, but after that team fight, we went, okay, we got this. Let's good. Let's go home. Let's go to bed.
We got this indeed. And I mean, looking at you, Cosmic, being the captain of this team, of course, you're the mid player, but you played both a hunter and a mage this game. You played the Merlin twice, and you played the Marticorus in game 1, I do believe.
Yes.
Do you have any preference to like magical or physical mid laners, or is it just whatever the meta gives you?
I mean, it's really whatever the meta is going to give me. You know, I've been pretty hesitant on playing Marty up until, honestly, this week. I know the pick is really solid and really good, and it was left open, so I went, all right, guys, you know, I rolled my eyes. I went, let's just play it. Let's just see. You know, I love my mages. I think after the buff this patch, they're in a much more solid spot. So, you know, we'll just see how the season plans out. I don't think anyone's going to expect some of the picks I'll be playing, but you know, you just have to wait and see.
I mean, I am one of the people looking very much forward to it. Thank you so much, Cosmic. For my last question for you, do you have any words for the teams that you have yet to face in this league?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you saw what we did week 1. I think, you know, I'm really excited to play everyone. I'll be nice. I won't talk any crap. I'm really excited. You know, I think we got a great group this year. I think the Immortal division has probably never looked as strong as it has in years past. There's a lot of new people in this season that are really good. So I'm honestly just really excited for the season. So, you know, good games, good luck, everyone. Let's get going.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me today, Cosmic. Congrats on the win once again. And, well, I mean, if you win again next week, we might talk again. So,
yes, yeah.
See you later, dude.
I will see you soon.
Man, what a great interview, and almost as dapper as us when it comes to how good Cosmic was looking in that interview. Same
I
as
gotta give
Jeffrey,
him credit. They get close, but they can't. They just can't beat it. I think we got him beat. Give me high five. Let's go.
Oh,
Shut
yeah. Am I gonna?
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it worked.
Yeah. There we go.
So I think Cosmic said it best. He's really feeling himself on the mages. He gave Marty a try. Marty didn't wasn't the solution that they were looking for in game 1. Went back to his traditional mages that he said he absolutely loves. And, you know, he showed just what he can do on those mages in that second and third game, looking great on Merlin in both of those games.
I think that both teams look solid, and if that's any indication of what's going to come later this season, I got to say I'm very excited, and I'm going to need an energy drink because just that one set drained me, and this is going to be an exciting season. So everyone, make sure you stick around and watch what we have left this season. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm Gearchief, and with me is Suun. We had our casters were Anthony, chair 1, and we had KingFsher, chair 2, and on camera, we got iNooblet. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.